Chapter 191, Sharwin's Home Affairs. Sharwin's family members didn't live very well. His family didn't share any warmth with him. Given this, people could judge it from those broken armor and sword how his family members had prepared for him to attend the survival training. Sharwin was also very frugal at school. Zhang Tai had also heard that Sharwin was doing part-time jobs outside to subsidy his family members. However, he had never heard that Sharwin's parents had given him a copper coin for pocket money. In the survival training, when the members of Hit Plane Brotherhood discussed beating Sharwin's father up for his mistreatment, they were stopped by Sharwin himself. Later on, Zhang Tai learned that Sharwin's home situation was somewhat complex. Sharwin had lost his biological father when he was young. His mom then married his current stepfather and gave birth to two younger brothers. As his family's economic condition was not good, his stepfather was a hard *SS, so it could be imagined how hard Sharwin had to live. Zhang Tai didn't consider that only after several days since their return, Sharwin's home would encounter a great accident. Last night, as Sharwin's hard *SS stepfather started beating his mom at home due to a trivial thing, although having suffered for so long, Sharwin finally couldn't stand it. He started to quarrel with that man. That man then lifted a bench and started to attack Sharwin. Zhang Tai's friend had no other way but to escape by running around the room. In an emergency, he had grabbed a fruit knife from the table and thrust into that man's thigh. Seeing that man getting thrust and falling to the ground, Sharwin, whose head was still bleeding, rushed out and didn't return home last night. However, that bastard was shouting everywhere that he would go to the military administration to appeal for an attempted murder. Once this crime was testified, Sharwin would be punished by a death sentence according to the law of the Norman Empire. Doug lived not far from Sharwin, but not until last night when he went visit Sharwin's home to find him did he learn of what had happened through Sharwin's mom. She was sitting at home, very anxious about what would happen next. That hard *SS stepfather was still determined to kill Sharwin this time as he kept screaming in the neighborhood that he would appeal for the murder attempt to the military administration. After finding this out, Doug hurriedly went to Barley last night. They then thought of the other members of the Hit Plane Brotherhood for the first time, but knowing that Zhang Tai was still in recuperation, they didn't come for him last night. However, after searching the whole night, they didn't find Sharwin. Yet his bastard stepfather was still screaming everywhere about his plans to appeal to the military administration. And since they didn't know how to deal with it, Barley and Doug finally came here to Zhang Tai. Where is Leet and the other brothers? After entering the lobby of the apartment, Zhang Tai hurriedly put on his clothes as he asked Barley. Leet and the other brothers are still looking for Sharwin. Doug and I are here to inform you. We wanted to know whether you have any method to deal with this. What about Sharwin's stepfather, where's he? After being bandaged in the hospital, he has already returned home. I know what to do. Saying this, Zhang Tai rapidly and carefully put on his second lieutenant's military uniform. At the beginning, Barley and Doug didn't notice that Zhang Tai's wounds had fully recovered. However, seeing Zhang Tai move so quickly and not like one who's been wounded, they gradually became startled. Have your wounds recovered? Barley popped out his eyes. Yes, they've recovered yesterday, but keep it a secret for me. Seeing Barley and Doug's surprised eyes which contained other speculations, Zhang Tai hurriedly added, Grandma Teresa cured it with esoteric medicine. No matter how perverted my physique is, I could never recover so fast myself. Hearing Zhang Tai's words, Barley and Doug exchanged glances with each other before letting out a breath. If lightning strike could really lead to such a marvelous self-curing effect, allowing people to recover from such heavy wounds in only 2 days, Barley and Doug would probably want to have a try as well. Zhang Tai was simply another pride of the 7th National Male Middle School of Blackhawk City after Li Shizhen. Almost everybody was talking about his story, especially those animals from all the other male schools that had graduated the same year as him. The event where he could insta-kill a LV-6 Black Spider-Man during an assassination that day was even described as a legend. At the fastest speed, Zhang Tai finished cleaning himself and putting on his clothes. The moment he wanted to leave with the car's key in hand, he stopped. His car was parked under the tree outside the apartment, which although could be easily driven, would take at least half an hour to start since he would need to heat up the boiler. How did you come here? Of course by running. Since it's still early, the public buses aren't driving around yet. We've run for over an hour. Can you continue to run? Doug and Barley patted their chests. Well then, we will go to Sharwin's home and solve Sharwin's hard *SS stepfather. Do you mean you want to kill that bastard? Doug was really startled, while Barley showed the whites of his eyes. With such a stupid guy as his brother, even Barley felt shamed by it. Zhang Tai felt both angry and amused. I'm a regular officer of the Norman Empire instead of a bandit and robber like Red Scarf burglars. I mean we will deal with the event that Sharwin's stepfather wants to appeal to the military administration. In the military uniform of the Norman Empire, although I cannot be a tyrant in the Black Hot City, I can at least frighten people. Scratching his head, Doug smirked. Pity, actually, if we could actually kill that hard *SS, I would feel much easier. Barley could stand it no more and smacked Doug on his head with his hand. After leaving Zhang Tai's apartment, the three of them started to run past the avenues of Black Hot City, as if they were jogging. Seeing a young military officer of the Norman Empire jogging with two people in the early morning, many people became curious. On the way, Zhang Tai, Barley and Doug were stopped by patrolling soldiers of No. 39 Division at least 3 times. Each time they were stopped, after glancing over Zhang Tai, those patrolling soldiers would ask him whether he needed help or not. Although Zhang Tai tried to control his running speed to be slow, Barley and Doug were already sweating all over. After jogging for 20 minutes, they finally got on a trolley bus and arrived at Sharwin's home 1 hour later. Compared to Zhang Tai's home, Sharwin's was in a worse economic condition. His house was in the residential area called Brick Building, since the entire residential quarter looked like it was combined of 4 standing bricks. Besides the middle ground of the area, the rest of the places were dark and narrow. The aisles and passages were piled with all sorts of sundry and waste. The walls on all sides were scrawled with various doodles and words, pasted with illegal ads by old and ugly prostitutes and road marks for guiding pimps. This was the true slums of Black Hot City where people doing the cheapest labor lived. When Zhang Tai, Barley, and Doug arrived, most of people in the slum had just gotten up. Many were lazily queuing up outside the public toilet in the mezzanine. Zhang Tai's arrival aroused a slight turmoil. The moment they saw him, many people who were going to leave hurriedly returned home and closed the door. If any of their kids were outside, they would hug them and take them back home, then stare at this military officer through the cracks in their door and window frames with their eyes wide open, wanting to know what this military officer of the Norman Empire was here for. In the past month, some tramps and jobless people, as well as some low-level gangs in the slum, wanted to make some money when the Black Hot City was changing its ruler. In the end, all of their bodies were hung on the gibbets as specimen for a long time. Those soldiers of the Norman Empire in dark red military uniforms usually came here to catch and kill someone. Therefore, the residents here had formed an instinctive fear of the dark red military uniform. When Barley and Doug came before a room number 816 on the side of floor 8 of this brick building, Zhang Tai exchanged glances with Barley and Doug, and the latter two nodded. Currently, the room was still filled with a man's furious screams and a woman's weeps. Zhang Tai raised his hand and lightly knocked on the door. A 11 to 12 kid with a fat face opened the door. At the sight of Zhang Tai standing outside, he was so scared that he even began to quiver all over. Zhang Tai pushed open the door and saw another 8 to 9 kid beside that 11 to 12 one. They looked a bit like Sharwin, but not as comely. Thinking of Sharwin's thin figure and the two rude, fat kids, Zhang Tai immediately understood their status, Sharwin's 2 younger brothers who had the same mother but different father. Zhang Tai looked at the 2 boys, but he neither liked nor disliked them. Since they opened the door, he walked in and went directly towards the room where the man's growls and the woman's weeps drifted from. Please don't appeal to the ministry. He didn't mean it yesterday. If you do this, he will surely die. Do you really want to see him die? He's called you dad for more than 10 years. The woman in the room wept as she begged the man. You dare to beg for my forgiveness? Do you know what he wanted to do yesterday? Do you understand what that bastard had really wanted to do? He wanted to kill me with a knife. He's not my son, just your and your dead former husband's bastard. The man growled in the room. No, not like that. He just had no way out because you wanted to beat him bloody. He just took the knife to poke you. It was just a small wound. Pa, a loud slapping sound stopped the woman's argument. A small wound, do you know how painful this father's thigh is? You still dare to ask for my forgiveness. Well, I know your former dead husband has left a deposit for you and that bastard before he died. You must have hidden that deposit receipt. If you take it out, I will not appeal then. There's nothing left. Really? All the money at home has been used up by you to sleep with the women outside. Where do you want me to find the deposit? That woman burst out laughing loudly. If you don't take it out, just wait for your son to be caught and hung dead in the gibbets, the man started to viciously threat. Please, I really have no money left. With no money, you want to save that bastard? Heh, just wait to collect his corpse. That bastard with tender skin and flesh will definitely look good when he's hung dead. Hearing those words, Zhang Tai couldn't stand it any longer. Infuriated, he kicked open the door of the room and quickly picked up that man by his neck, then ferociously slapped his face more than 10 times in a breath. Chapter 192, Growing Up and Suffering. After being ferociously slapped over 10 times, that man in the room almost passed out, his mouth full of blood. The woman next to him had become dumbfounded. At this time, Barley and Doug rushed in. After ferociously slapping the man, Zhang Tai pushed him onto the ground, causing this man to scream. However, when he clearly saw Zhang Tai's second lieutenant military uniform, he instantly stopped screaming as if someone choked him. With eyes full of fear fixed on Zhang Tai, he was confused as to why this military officer of the Norman Empire had broken into his house. Since Barley and Doug knew Sharwin's mom, they came to whisper to her. After a concerned look at Zhang Tai, she then nodded, walking out of the room while cleaning her tears. Doug then closed the door behind her. Sharwin's hard *SS stepfather was over 50 years old, half-bald. As a rude and wretched guy, he didn't even shave himself. The moment one looked at his eyes as furtive as those of a rat, one would like to beat him up ferociously. Lying on the ground, at the sight of the three young men who were surrounding him with malicious intentions, that guy cried in fear at once. "You, what do you want?" "Doug, Barley, I know you, what do you want to do?" F***CKU. Irritated, Doug directly kicked his lower abdomen. Lying on the ground, the man shrieked painfully once again. Their hearts filled with rage, Barley and Doug had both heard that man's words. They simply couldn't believe there was such a scumbag in the world. He couldn't even match a beast. They couldn't imagine how Sharwin had lived in this home for this long. Barley and Doug then beat him up for the second time until this man could only wail on the ground. I'll appeal to the military administration of Black Hot City." The man kept repeating it while wailing. Hearing this, Zhang Tai smiled at him. "Barley and Doug, stop, if you keep beating him in this way, he will be dead. For scumbags and insurgents like him who have malicious intents toward the Norman Empire and dare to attack a military officer of the Norman Empire, it is all too easy to end up dead. I want to see how he is hung in the gibbet. It must look good." Looking at Zhang Tai in fear, that man asked, What did you say?" Zhang Tai ignored him, instead looking at Barley. "Have you heard how this man swore at the Norman Empire and the Iron Horn Army just now?" Based on the tacit understanding between brothers, the moment he heard Zhang Tai's words, Barley knew what he wanted them to do. This man cursed the Norman Empire, saying its citizens are bastards. He also said that all the members of the Iron Horn Army should be hung. The moment Barley opened his mouth, he added a death penalty to this man. After saying that, he slightly touched Doug, who was dumbfounded, using his elbow. The last member present then responded at once and hurriedly nodded. Yes, I also heard him saying that." Zhang Tai sighed. "Alas, previously I came here to chat with my classmate. I had not imagined that I would find a person who was so hostile to the Norman Empire. As a military officer of the Norman Empire, I rushed into this room, but this man started to attack me once he caught sight of me. I had no other choice but to beat him up." Did I? As he lay on the ground, that man's face had turned pale. Squatting down before him, under Barley's and Doug's eyes, Zhang Tai picked up one of his hands and used it to pat his own chest like how he might pat a mosquito before letting go of it and standing up. After that, Zhang Tai asked Barley, "Have you seen this man attack me?" "Yes, we saw him give you a punch." Barley instantly answered. "If so, I will keep an eye on him in case he escapes. You two go outside to fetch a team of patrolling soldiers of the Norman Empire. Just tell them that I've caught an insurgent who's hostile to the Norman Empire. Lead them to catch him here." After saying this, Zhang Tai pulled out his military officer's certificate from his pocket and said, "Take this." At the sight of it, those soldiers will definitely follow you here. If this kind of hostile person isn't hung to death, Black Hot City won't be peaceful. Additionally, this guy dared to attack a military officer of the Norman Empire. He really commits the most heinous crimes. When Barley took that military officer's certificate from Zhang Tai's hand, the man lying on the ground completely collapsed. By then, no matter how foolish he was, he would know that they were determined to play him to death. For a small figure living at the bottom of Black Hot City like Sharwin's stepfather, if they wanted to kill him using the military uniforms, it was as easy as stomping a bug to death. Even if Zhang Tai killed him now, nobody would said no. What made this man still confused though was why would a young Norman Empire's military officer suddenly break into his home when he had not offended any people of the Norman Empire, let alone any military officers. Seeing Barley leaving after taking Zhang Tai's certificate, that man made all the effort to hug Barley's thigh. He cried loudly, Barley, spare my life please. I know that I'm wrong. But I'm Sharwin's father. Do you really want to kill your friend's father? I'm just a poor guy and a small figure. Please let me go. I can do whatever you want me to do." Seeing this man kneeling down and hugging Barley's thigh, even Zhang Tai became sad for Sharwin. For such a hard *SS as his stepfather, it was even better to dig a pit and directly bury him inside. At this moment, Barley really wanted to kill him. How could his brother have such a scumbag stepfather? It was really a shame. Barley looked at Zhang Tai, who sighed and shook his head. Zhang Tai couldn't stand that coward look anymore. So he picked that man's collar and lifted him up like a broken bag before throwing him onto the bed. With his terrified eyes fixed on Zhang Tai, the man shrunk to a corner of the bed. "Do you know who I am?" The man shook his head. "I'm Zhang Tai, a military officer of the Ironblood camp of No. 39 Division of the Iron Horn Army. I'm Sharwin's brother. I heard you wanted to kill Sharwin. So here I am. I want to see who dares to mistreat my brother that way." That man stared at Zhang Tai like seeing a ghost, as he had not imagined that Sharwin, who could only succumb to his beatings and swearing at home, had such a brother. I. Looking at Zhang Tai's icy eyes, that man couldn't even utter a word. "Do you know why you are still alive now?" The man swallowed his saliva as he kept shaking his head. "I left you alive because of Sharwin, do you understand? No matter what, no matter how a scumbag like you deserves to die, you're Sharwin's stepfather. So I let you live. If you lose the status of his stepfather, I will hardly let you alive, am I clear?" The man nodded. "Are you still preparing to appeal to the military administration because of what Sharwin did?" The man nodded. Soon after, he found it was not right, therefore, he hurriedly shook his head. When Zhang Tai, Barley, and Doug walked out of the messy and narrow room, they saw Sharwin's mother hugging two kids outside the door, watching them. Living tough as part of the bottom class in the past years, Sharwin's mom looked aged and haggard despite not being that old. There was even an obvious bruise and a palm mark on her face. Looking at the messy arrangement of Sharwin's home and the wooden door that had been broken by him, Zhang Tai sighed inside as he took out 5 gold coins from his pocket and stealthily foisted them into the hands of Sharwin's mom. When Zhang Tai, Barley, and Doug left this bricks building, Sharwin's mom caught up with them with tears filling their eyes. "If you see Sharwin, tell him to not let him worry about me. I cannot separate from this home anymore. I feel sorry for him, for being unable to give him a warm home. In the past years, he's paid too much for this home and suffered a lot. Please, tell him not to come back anymore. He's already grown up and has the right to pursue his own life. We've not found Sharwin yet." Barley scratched his head. "I know where he is. Barley, when you see him, please give this to him. This is what his real father had left to him. He will understand it." Saying this, Sharwin's mom tore off the lower hem of her gown, and from the cotton cloth inside, pulled out a golden ring with the abbreviation of Sharwin's family name carved on it. The ring was not delicate. Not until afternoon did Barley, Doug, Zhang Tai, Leet, Hista, and Baghdad found Sharwin. He wasn't downtown, but in a cemetery outside the city. He sat before his dad's graveyard the whole last night. Seeing their arrival, Sharwin raised his head with tear stains on his face and forced a smile for them. Everybody felt Sharwin had become much mature over the night. Pain was the catalyzer that drove men to become mature. For the whole day, Zhang Tai and the other members of the Hit Plane Brotherhood stayed together. After dinner, they drank in the chartered room from till late evening. Not until they all became dead drunk did they leave. After putting on his real father's ring, Sharwin told them that he would not go back home from now on. He needed to work outside to survive by himself. When he made enough money, he would get his mom out of that place. As for all sorts of offers to help from his brothers, Sharwin refused them all. He said if he got accustomed to his brothers' help now, he was afraid that they might not be brothers anymore from then on. Afterwards, Sharwin cried. Everybody else kept silent. They then started to drink again. The weapons brought back by them from the survival training had been sold by Barley. The total amount of compensation was less than 8 gold coins. The last month, the prices of various common weapons in Blackhot City had dropped. They didn't understand why that would be so when the Holy War was coming. Except for Zhang Tai, who had figured out the reason. One of the signs of the coming chaotic world was that those common weapons used to kill people started to be cheaper, while the prices of high-end materials like crystals or grains that could allow people to survive greatly surged up. So did the prices of advanced weapons. Zhang Tai told them that he might soon leave Blackhot City and go to fight in Kalar. Facing the booming huge wheels of the age, all of them became silent, empty inside. So they continued to drink and talk about what had happened at school, Miss Dana, the treehouse and the survival training, that lightning bolt which had struck Zhang Tai, and what others would do if they died in the future. When they talked about Miss Dana, Zhang Tai told them that he was the only one among them who had not hit the plane towards Miss Dana. Nobody else believed that. The youths then laughed and played before crying loudly. While they were highly spirited, Zhang Tai's second lieutenant military uniform was stripped off him by the others, including his pants. The other animals started to strip off their own clothes and put on that second lieutenant military uniform one by one so as to feel its domineering influence. Finally, Lud Hista jumped onto the table in that second lieutenant's military uniform and started to imitate those coquettish women who gave strip shows by twisting his butt, which made everybody else vomit. Not knowing whether he benefited from the small tree, when he departed from them, Zhang Tai was still dizzy. However, several minutes later, he felt himself sweating the alcohol off. He then instantly became clear-minded. This time, the black hot city was illuminated by roadside lamps. After becoming clear-minded, Zhang Tai almost immediately figured out what Alice desired and worried about. Sharwin's event had shown him what a bad family meant. Alice's tears and sadness in her eye corners reappeared in his mind. Before he could recover his composure, he found that he was already standing on the stairs of Alice's home. There were still lights in her house. Zhang Tai could faintly hear Alice talking with her mom. Standing there, next to Alice's home for almost an hour, Zhang Tai recalled every moment since he had met her. When Alice did not mind him, they could stay with each other without any considerations, but once she started to truly care for him, she chose to leave. Caring or not determined utterly different attitudes. Sometimes, the alleged life was that mother*** king. Several times Zhang Tai thought to knock at the door of Alice's home, but he resisted it. He didn't know what he could say to her at this moment and what kind of commitment he could make. He didn't want to hurt her, just like how Alice had preferred to stay alone in case of hurting him even a bit. Alice was actually a good girl. Zhang Tai finally chose to turn away and leave. On the way back, he found that Black Hot City tonight was more solemn than before as there were obviously greater number of patrolling soldiers on the avenues. When he passed near the railway station, a great batch of military vehicles and ambulances drove out of the station in each direction of Black Hot City. At first, he was confused about that, but when he passed by a hospital, he found many military vehicles and ambulances parked outside the entrance while more and more wounded soldiers were carried off and sent into the hospital. Zhang Tai then walked closer. "Stop." Seeing Zhang Tai draw close, a soldier stopped him. Not until Zhang Tai had walked under the lamplights did the soldiers get a clear look of his military uniform and hurriedly gave a salute to him. A first-class sergeant with a small team of soldiers was dispatched here to preserve the security. "First-class sergeant, where did these wounded soldiers come from?" "They're from Kalar. The frontline troops are encountering greater conflicts with brilliant feathers these days. The quantity of wounded brothers has started to increase. As the frontline field hospitals can no longer hold them all, we have to carry those most heavily wounded brothers to the rear areas by trains so that they can receive medical treatment and recuperate." Hearing the latest news, Zhang Tai's heart pounded slightly. It seemed that Kalar's situation deteriorated faster than he had imagined. Norman Empire and Sun Dynasty were both skirmishing more frequently in Kalar's region, which meant that the Ironblood camp might have to leave Black Hot City and drive towards Kalar as soon as possible. As Zhang Tai was not a war maniac, this was not good news for him. The rapid deterioration of the situation brought an increasingly greater sense of urgency to him. With a heavy mood, Zhang Tai returned to his apartment in Avenue Monet. A wagon was parked outside the gate of the apartment. Horse-driven vehicles were people's favorite traffic tools in this world. Compared to steam-driven cars, sometimes horse-driven vehicles were much more convenient to use. Additionally, they were the most commonly seen vehicle in Black Hot City, so Zhang Tai didn't notice it at all. But the moment Zhang Tai pulled out his key and prepared to open the gate, the four girls Angel, Sharapova, Susan, and Fiona, whom he had met in the hospital, got off the carriage. The four of them looked pretty beautiful today, all wearing thick amices. Zhang Tai couldn't see what were under the amices, but he could at least see their delicate hairstyles and dressed looks. The moment the four girls got off the carriage, it drove away. Turning back his head, that driver glared at Zhang Tai with admiration. "Are you here for me?" Zhang Tai asked after seeing the four girls standing before him as he felt that they had been waiting here for him for a long time. "We've been waiting for you for 2 hours. As a gentleman, don't you plan to invite us in?" Angel, the one with blonde hair, said in an alluring tone. Forcing a smile, Zhang Tai scratched his head and entered the apartment, followed by the four girls. Chapter 193, Tempted by Beauties. The special fragrance of the four girls was drifting in the air, containing the breath of youth and health. Although it could also be smelt on Alice, Beverly, and Pandora, it was very light on them. Each time he smelt this odor, Zhang Tai would feel his blood start boiling up, like a knee-jerk. This was especially so after playing the game of Mummy and Small Golden Fish with Pandora and Beverly. Now he found that he had become more sensitive to women. Zhang Tai didn't know whether it was intentional or not, but when he was standing outside the open gate of the apartment building to invite the girls in, they all touched his body with their owns while passing by him. Especially that girl named Fiona with a well-toned S under her skirt. When she was passing by, she pushed against his lower abdomen. Being pushed, Zhang Tai's mummy instantly became grim. Zhang Tai took a deep breath and smelt the faint fragrance from their bodies. For a hot-blooded boy, this smell was irresistible, just like how female wolves became attractive to rutting male wolves. It seemed that these goblins knew well how to lure a man. Zhang Tai gently stroked his jaw while closing the gate of the apartment building. Trying to move his eyes away from the girls' butts, he led them inside and opened his own residence in floor 1. When Zhang Tai closed the door of his residence once again, he abruptly thought back to the scene of when he took Alice, Beverly, and Pandora here. Since the curtains inside were tightly closed, an ambiguous atmosphere rose up in the room again. Will something happen today? Zhang Tai felt strange since the relationship between these girls and him was different from his relationship with Alice, Beverly, and Pandora. Right now, he couldn't bear his longing for Alice and became faintly vacant. He ignited the lamps in the room, opened the steaming heat units, and pulled open the curtains. After the room became bright, he turned back and found that the girls had already taken off their amices and fixed their eyes on him, smiling. Under the amices were 4 different beautiful skirts with low-cut dress, half-cut dress, or a deep V collar. They all wore nice ball gowns like attending a party. The 4 pairs of snow-white plump balls were looming in the dresses. The 4 girls were standing gracefully straight, like displaying their figures. After a single glance over the 4 exotic girls, Zhang Tai was dizzy. His mummy became really restless this time. Calm, you have to be calm, Zhang Tai told himself. Looking at Zhang Tai's dull eyes, the girls all giggled inwardly. How about that, are we beautiful? Which are more beautiful, us or Alice, Beverly, and Pandora? When Angel asked her question, they all moved from their original positions, displaying cute or attractive poses and winking their beautiful eyes towards Zhang Tai. In a split second, Zhang Tai felt his blood pressure surge up. He coughed twice before moving his eyes away from these girls. Take a seat here, I will go get some drinks for you. After exchanging glances with each other, the 4 girls all revealed smiled before gracefully sitting on the sofa in the parlor, waiting for Zhang Tai to bring them drinks. There was a great vin in the parlor with the glasses inside left by Donder. Zhang Tai hurriedly searched inside it. He took a bottle of brandy, however, after thinking about it twice, he put it down. After excluding spirits that would easily cause people to become giddy, Zhang Tai found a bottle of delicious fruit wine. He poured it into 4 glasses and carried them over to the room where he put them on the tea table next to the sofa. Thanks. Angel lowered her body and took a glass of wine, exposing her nice figure to Zhang Tai. When Angel lowered her body, Zhang Tai, who sat opposite the girls, stared at her breasts involuntarily. Seeing the nice scene, he became restless. Only after a small sip of the wine, the 4 girls felt Zhang Tai's consideration. This wine tasted nice and had a low alcohol content. After drinking it, one might feel warm all over. After a single sip, the girls all felt very warm and comfortable. Soon after that, the chilliness of waiting for almost 2 hours in the wagon outside was driven off them. This was a powerful man who had a great future and was very considerate to girls. This was how the Girls of Rose Association evaluated Zhang Tai. After a sip, the girls' faces had flushed slightly, making them more adorable. They then exchanged glances that could only be understood by themselves. Although they had already mustered up their determination when they arrived here, at this time, they reconfirmed their decisions because of Zhang Tai's consideration and carefulness. Drinking wine, the girls exchanged glances with each other. It seemed the room was filled with a thin rose-colored ambiguous atmosphere. Sitting on the sofa beside the girls, Zhang Tai felt restless, as if he was sitting on needles. You take a seat first, as I've drunk a lot today and feel sticky all over, I will take a bath. Seeing the girl's eyes becoming as blurred as water ripples, Zhang Tai hurriedly stood up and left the parlor with the excuse of taking a bath. Taking note of Zhang Tai escaping the parlor in such an awkward way, the girls all giggled. Angel, I heard it is very painful the first time, isn't it? Fiona, that sexy young mature lady, lowered her voice and asked Angel. She was slightly nervous. I've read the notebooks and guidance left by former graduates of Rose Association. It said that when girls did this with men for the first time, they would feel very painful and would bleed a lot. It's okay, Fiona, I will be the first. You just help me from the side. It will soon come to an end. Do you remember what the book, Guidance on How to Guide a Man, writes? When we do this for the first time, if we have enough foreplay, we might not feel very painful. Additionally, we have 4 people, which means we can share the pain. Face flushed, Blonde Angel added, Senior said that once we do this, we will feel much better doing this again. We women are nature-born rulers in the bed. We should not fear him in the bed. Whores outside can easily deal even with dozens of men a day. We are not whores, therefore, it's enough for us to deal with him, even for the first time. I heard some men will have a lot of weird requirements in the bed. Susan, the one with a nice watermelon seed-shaped face and a pair of enchanting eyes, lowered her voice. I don't know whether you've made enough preparations. The one with a sexy mouth and a figure more on the plump side, Sharapova, smiled. Don't worry, Susan. Haven't you seen it? Zhang Tai is still a boy, I'm sure he will not be that mad. What if he will? The other girls cast their curious eyes on Sharapova at the same time. I've practiced at home alone for a long time. If he wants to act recklessly with me, I will not fear that. Sharapova just revealed a mysterious smile before moving closer to the other girls and whispering to them. After a slight amazement, the other girls all chuckled. After being drenched in completely icy water, Zhang Tai's boiling head and that grim mummy which couldn't wait to have a great fight outside gradually recovered its composure. Over 10 minutes later, after taking the bath, Zhang Tai put on a clean set of clothes and reappeared in the parlor. By now, the girls had already lazily leaned against the sofa. Fiona even had taken off her leather shoes and sat on the sofa with bent legs, showing a small part of her thigh. The wine that Zhang Tai had brought for them had been drunk up. Their flushed faces were the color of roses. At the same time, their watery eyes were narrowing like a pond of spring water. Zhang Tai had no idea what these girls had mumbled about while he was taking the bath, but when he reappeared in the parlor, he felt that these girls who had looked bashful just now became brave and provocative in his eyes. Additionally, the curtain that he had pulled open was closed once again. The moment Zhang Tai sat down on the sofa, before he could open his mouth, Angel and Fiona had already swam close to him like two snakes. You? The moment Zhang Tai opened his mouth, Angel's glowing face moved closer to him. She sat on his thigh, and her small golden fish with the fragrance of fruit wine instantly swam into his mouth. At the same time, he felt itchy on his left ear. It was Fiona, that young mature woman, who had already pasted her scorching face onto his. Her small golden fish then immediately drilled into his ear. After that, Susan also sat closer to him and started to bite his other ear. All in a split second, being stimulated, Zhang Tai was so excited that he almost died. However, this was not the most fatal move. When he had just struggled out of Angel's mouth, his whole body suddenly quivered as Sharapova, who was more piquant and brave, had put her hand into his nightrobe. Facing such a great temptation, for a moment, Zhang Tai almost gave up and took a cool enjoyment of the feeling. However, in the end, he kept his unwavering bottom line and took Angel off his thigh, then leaned to one side to set his ears free from Fiona's and Susan's small golden fish. Sharapova's small golden fish, however, almost killed him. As he took a deep breath, he patted her lowering head, indicating her to stop. However, Sharapova was still shaking her head in a piquant way. With her hair moving, the small golden fish in the fishbowl started to swim more forcefully. Finally, Zhang Tai had to use his hand to move Sharapova's head away and push this woman onto the opposite sofa before liberating himself. Only after 1 minute, the 5 people in the room were heavily flushed. All of them were slumping against the sofa's back, gasping heavily. Listen. With a blushed face, Zhang Tai panted twice. We cannot do this. We've already told our family members that we won't come home tonight. Angel moved closer to Zhang Tai once again. Catching his hand, she put it between her exposed breasts. We for all belong to you tonight. You can do whatever you want to us. Seeing Fiona and Susan wanting to lure him in once again as well, Zhang Tai picked himself up from the sofa and pressed the 4 women back down, forcing them to sit well. After that, he walked towards another sofa and sat down there. Listen, I'm afraid that I can't be the guardian knight of your Rose Association. After Zhang Tai's words, all the 4 girls became quiet. Chapter 194, I Don't Cheat Women. Why? Angel sat up straight. Why not be the guardian knight of Rose Association? Is it because of Pandora, Alice, and Beverly? The other 3 girls also stared at Zhang Tai with wide-open eyes. Zhang Tai shook his head. Aren't we beautiful enough? But I don't think we're worse than Alice and Beverly. Susan doubted. No, you are all very beautiful, you're the most beautiful girls that I've ever met. Since you fell in love with a girl, you will only choose to stay with her without even looking at the other girls? Fiona asked, head inclined. No, I don't think so. Actually, I will love many women and will have a lot of fantasies. Zhang Tai honestly replied. Then tell us why. Sharapova, who had been as enthusiastic as fire, became infuriated as she picked herself up from the sofa with an icy expression. Do you dislike that we not pure physically? Before now, we've not even been touched by any man. When I was at home, I only used bananas to practice how to please men. Do you want to see how pure our bodies are? Let's show him, Fiona, Angel, he's already treated us as whores. Then, we should show this man how pure our bodies are. Saying this, Sharapova undid the buckles on the back of her skirt using her own hands. Her actions were closely followed by her golden skirt sliding off to the ground. The other 3 girls also imitated her and started to slide off their skirts one after another. In a split second, 4 youthful and perfect female figures with only underwear and corsages appeared in front of Zhang Tai. Sharapova kept on until nothing was left on her. She then turned around before Zhang Tai and sat back onto the sofa, naked. After that, she displayed her most secret place to Zhang Tai in a gesture which might make others too ashamed. Zhang Tai was really startled by this scene. He had not imagined that the Girls of Rose Association would also care about their reputation so much. Come on, check whether our virgin crowns are still there or not and see whether we are whores or not. Sharapova shouted out in agitation with her red eyes fixed on Zhang Tai, tears filling her eyes. Her tears were swelling over her eye sockets like a dam that was about to break at any time. At this moment, all the other 3 girls imitated Sharapova one by one. After undressing all of their clothes, they all leaned against the sofa's back and displayed their rose-like virginity to Zhang Tai in a gesture that would make other girls too ashamed. As this was Zhang Tai's first time meeting this kind of scene, he became bewildered. Previously, he had heard that these non-Chinese girls were very adventurous and enthusiastic. Now, he finally witnessed it. Come on, go test whether I'm a whore. Urging in a crying voice, Sharapova started to drop pearl-like tears. All the 4 girls started to drop tears as they threw off their self-respect after having boldly served a man their virginity, only to be doubted about its existence. The man even disdained to f*ck them. This was a huge shock to the girls. Under such a great shock, shame or not was not important at all. It's not what you think, you don't need to display your virginity to me in this way. Zhang Tai picked himself up and walked over there. He carefully wiped off the tears from Sharapova's face and helped her sit up normally, telling her to not keep that embarrassing pose anymore. Then he did the same to Angel sitting beside Sharapova. Followed by Fiona and Susan. Seeing them acting this way, not knowing the reason, Zhang Tai felt pained inside. After doing this, Zhang Tai picked up their underwear and corsages from the ground and walked over. Without a word, he knelt down on one knee and lifted up Sharapova's leg. After slightly kissing her nice shin, he helped her put on her underwear and the corsage. To be honest, although the atmosphere was hot just now, at this moment, Zhang Tai was putting on close-fitting clothes for the girls. Unavoidably, he sometimes touched sensitive places. However, he looked very calm and didn't have profane thoughts at all. Each girl was an angel. Zhang Tai felt it was too cruel and unnecessary to have several angels display their virginity in front of him in this way. At this moment, the girls in the room were like wooden models that were used to display clothes in a couture. Zhang Tai slightly kissed their shins, clumsily lifted them from the sofa and gently helped them put on their underwear and the corsages. He acted both gently and delicately with a pious attitude. Although he did the most intimate thing for the girls, and they didn't cover their private body parts at all, Zhang Tai's eyes were filled with pity instead of love, desire, or greed. His pious kisses on their clean shins made every girl tremble, especially when he knelt down on one knee in front of them to put on underwear for them. It made them feel cherished and loved. The girls burst into tears once again, but they were different tears from those last time. After Zhang Tai lifted Fiona from the sofa, helped her stand up, and put on that black lace corsage for this sexy girl who looked like a young mature lady, she forcefully hugged Zhang Tai. At the same time, she quivered all over and dropped tears, which made Zhang Tai fail to buckle up the back of her corsage several times. Dear, don't move. Zhang Tai slightly patted Fiona's perfectly round butt. Woo, it's bigger than I've imagined. You're really a beautiful young lady. Like being drowned in the river, Fiona tightly hugged Zhang Tai as if hugging a floating log. Her tears poured out, even making Zhang Tai's nightrobe wet. Why? Tell me why? Angel raised her tearful eyes and stared at Zhang Tai. Because I will soon leave Blackhot City. The Ironhorn army of the Norman Empire is having more and more skirmishes with the Brilliant Feathers in Kala region, making the situation escalate over there. Probably in 2 weeks, I will leave Blackhot City and attend to the war in Kala region. Once I go to the battlefield, I won't be sure whether I'll be able to survive or not, let alone make any promises to you. Zhang Tai lightly patted the girls' butts. Do you know what kind of people I hate most? It's those bastards that would escape soon after they sleep with girl, having lured her in with a glib tongue. Those bastards are 10,000 times more immoral than those who run away after eating dinner in a hotel or those who leave with goods without paying in the stores. I know what privileges and obligations your guardian knight would have. I didn't mean to look down upon you. I also cannot wait to sleep with you. Thinking of that alone, I will wake up with laughter even in the dream. However, I cannot do that. I should not cheat you saying I can protect you as your guardian knight without even knowing whether I can come back from the battlefield after I leave Blackhot City. I cannot just leave after playing you by just saying sorry. If I did so, I would despise myself. My principle is that I can cheat everyone except for the women I sleep with. If I cheat a woman I've slept with, I will feel very shameless, useless, and not qualified to be a man. Can you understand it? You're a real knight. Sharapova muttered, hugging Zhang Tai from his back. No, I'm not a knight. You just want to exchange for my promise with what can be carried out with your most precious thing. But I'm just a poor guy who has not what you want. Zhang Tai mocked himself with a smile. Well, don't hug me anymore. Fiona, put on your skirt. I will make some more fruit wine for you to warm you up. If you push me like this for a longer time, I'm afraid that you will suffer a great loss. The girls wiped off their tears and exchanged glances with each other. They then all burst into laughter before loosening their hands that were hugging Zhang Tai. Only Fiona was acting like a spoiled child. No, as you have taken off my skirt, you also need to put it on for me. Several minutes later, drinking fruit wine again, the 5 people were sitting comfortably on the sofa in the parlor once again. This time, Zhang Tai sat alone on one side while the 4 girls sat on the opposite side, having recovered their composure. After realizing this women-favored fruit wine tasted nice, Zhang Tai also made a glass of it for himself. Do you feel we women from Rose Association are very realistic? Angel glanced at Zhang Tai, who was sitting on the opposite with enchanting eyes. This time, she lacked the alluring expression but had a more amorous feeling to her. Of course, you almost made me die just now, like having tasted Viagra. Hearing that I won't protect you as I have to go to the battlefield, you then became goddesses and sit far away from me. I cannot even take advantage of you. Taking the glass, Zhang Tai sighed. When you posed, showing your virginity like what Sharapova had done, I should have made the decision and tried one by another. Additionally, I can also tell you, if other girls of Rose Association want to certify their virginity with this weird method, just come for me. I will definitely help them test that for free. After that, I can give them a certificate of virginity, which will date the time until which they were still virgins, etc. After Zhang Tai's words, the 4 girls all chuckled. After what had happened just now, Zhang Tai found the estrangement between him and the girls become less. So hearing his words, they threw 4 bolsters at him almost at the same time, which almost spilled over the wine in Zhang Tai's glass. He burst out laughing. For some reason, if he had encountered this event 2 days ago, he would have looked down upon those women. However, after experiencing what had happened in Sharwin's home, Zhang Tai found that women were too weak in this age. If not being realistic, these women wouldn't even be able to protect themselves whatsoever. It was not wrong for women to be a bit realistic. What was wrong was that there were too many hard *SS men in this age, and humans' living environment was also becoming tougher. You bastard, we were almost cheated by you. With faces turning red, the 4 girls pretended to glare at Zhang Tai. Hey, I'm the victim, right? When I walked out of the washroom, before I could tell you the truth, I was almost raped by you 4. You took advantage of us, yet you want to be innocent. You know this is the first time for all of us. Somewhat bashful, Sharapova threw another bolster towards Zhang Tai. You wouldn't have suffered a loss either, I'm a virgin too. Hearing Zhang Tai's words, all the girls cast their dubious eyes on him. Don't cheat us anymore. Don't tell us Pandora, Alice, and Beverly have not been here before. I've already smelt the odor of other women in this room. Fiona winkled her nose. After drinking the fruit wine, Zhang Tai picked himself up in a sad way. He then tore off his upper garment and just wore a pair of pajamas trousers while repeating the bashful gesture made by the 4 girls just recently. Come on, have a try if you want to know. He even imitated the crying tone of Sharapova. Seeing this, the girls almost burst out into tears. Emboldened, Sharapova engulfed the rest of the wine and directly rushed towards Zhang Tai. Chapter 195, Able to Stand It and Not. Seeing Sharapova rushing towards him with a flushed face, Zhang Tai was really startled. He hurriedly wanted to sit up, but Sharapova charged directly at him and forced him to lie on the sofa. Being a bit wild, Sharapova quickly bit Zhang Tai's nude chest. He instantly shrieked loudly. After his miserable scream, Sharapova had already moved on to his lips and started kissing him once again. The raptured taste of the small golden fish that Zhang Tai had enjoyed before swam in again. Tempted by her actions, Zhang Tai also hugged Sharapova and started to roll with her on the sofa. Zhang Tai felt that he really had the potential to be a lascivious guy. Under the gazes of the other 3 girls, he didn't even feel shameless to hug and kiss Sharapova on the sofa at all, rather feeling extremely excited. Like this, the 2 rolled on the sofa for about 5 minutes. Not only Zhang Tai, even the 3 girls on the side gasped in the end. He patted Sharapova's butt, telling her to get off him. However, Sharapova firmly kept shaking her head. Why not me? Alice, Beverly, and Pandora can do that, so can I. Because I was not only exchanging bodily fluids with them but also emotions. Everything between them and I happened naturally. Additionally, if we did this here, for some reason, I'd feel guilty. Sharapova, it's enough, stop. Angel, who sat on the other sofa, also uttered. After gnashing her teeth and staring at Zhang Tai with a complicated expression for a while, Sharapova felt reluctant to get off him. I was not only exchanging bodily fluids with them but also emotions. The 4 girls tasted Zhang Tai's words at the same time. Sharapova's eyes made Zhang Tai's heart pound. So he stood up from the sofa, looking at that teeth mark Sharapova left on his chest. He then put on his clothes and looked at the 4 beautiful girls in the room. Aren't you going back home? It's so late and no vehicles are outside. How can you have the heart to drive us out at this time? Pouting, Fiona looked at Zhang Tai with a pitiful expression. For some reason, the moment he saw this young mature lady, he would feel that she was acting in a pettishly charming manner. The atmosphere in the apartment now was becoming a bit dangerous as the girls were talking with him more casually, while their eyes made his heart pound. Zhang Tai felt that it was time to end this. Well, I have 2 extra bedrooms. You 4 can sleep in them, 2 per room. But you have to go back home tomorrow. What? Aren't we going to sleep in the same room with you? Goblin Susan exclaimed as she stared at Zhang Tai in a coquettish way. Staring at the 4 girls who looked like a section of bamboo that could be peeled off at any time, Zhang Tai forcefully swallowed his saliva. Of course not, I will sleep in a bedroom by myself. It's late now and I'm a bit tired. You should also go for a rest. After saying this, Zhang Tai guided the 4 girls to the 2 bedrooms and arranged 2 quilts for them before escaping into his own bedroom like a refugee. Closing his door, he instantly threw himself on the bed and covered his head using his hands before falling asleep. Seeing Zhang Tai's awkward escape, all the girls revealed smiles after exchanging glances. Which one do you think is more reliable, a man who would like to exchange both bodily fluids and emotions with you, or a man who's thinking about exchanging other things when he's exchanging bodily fluids with you? Angel asked while glancing over the other girls. What do you want to say, Angel? Throwing herself on the soft bed, Susan supported her delicate jaw. I mean, maybe we've made a mistake when we came here today. This man is different from those guys that our seniors had encountered. Therefore, the seniors' experiences are not applicable to this man. I finally understand why Pandora, Alice, and Beverly could fall in love with him at the same time. Angel sighed. Thinking back to how she got acquainted with Zhang Tai, she sighed again. At that time, she was too arrogant and superficial, therefore, she missed the most excellent man among the peers in Black Hot City. If that day she had been as adorable as today, she could definitely be the most admirable one among all the girls in Black Hot City. Thinking back to the scene when she collected pine cones with Zhang Tai, Angel smiled and sighed. At midnight, rolling thunders drifted over and a sudden heavy rain covered the entire Black Hot City. Zhang Tai rolled here and there in his room, unable to fall asleep. The enchanting faces of Pandora, Alice, Beverly, and Miss Dana flashed across his mind one by another. Recalling what had happened between him and the 3 girls in this room that day, the 15-year youth felt his blood boiling up and became pretty hot. What was more, Zhang Tai's bed had been covered with the body odor of Alice, Beverly, and Pandora. Lying here, his nose was heavily stimulated by the faint fragrance on the bedding left by the girls, and he felt like he was burning all over his body. Seemingly protesting that Zhang Tai had let go some yummy flesh, even though he was now lying alone on the bed, his mummy was still grim like a tough man. It was asking Zhang Tai, why? Why? Why did you pull me out of the warm fishbowl? Didn't you know I was very thrilled at that time? You selfish guy. Don't you know how I've lived alone for the past 15 years? Others could hit the plane, yet this father was standing every day, which could even make my tadpoles into frogs. You treated me like this when Alice came here last time, you did the same to me today too. Is there any personal grudge between you and me? They're just in your neighborhood, what are you waiting for? Shut up. Zhang Tai swore inside out of boredom. Hearing the heavy rain outside, he became even more upset. Rolling on the bed here and there for quite a while, Zhang Tai climbed off the bed and rushed into the washroom where he took a cold bath. Icy water changed into water mist when it dropped onto Zhang Tai's hot body. After the second cold bath, Zhang Tai felt much better. Standing before the mirror in the washroom, he saw a completely boiled shrimp, since his whole skin was already red and hot, stimulated by the boiling qi and blood in his body. Finally, Zhang Tai started practicing Lying Tiger move in his own room. However, Lying Tiger move couldn't help him recover his composure. After practicing it for over 10 minutes, Zhang Tai screamed out loudly and jumped onto the bed. Using 2 pillows to cover his head, he started to sleep once again. After a while, being still awake, Zhang Tai heard slight footsteps from outside. Soon after, someone was pushing the door of Zhang Tai's bedroom. After realizing the door was locked from inside, the person knocked on it. Without receiving any response, she knocked at the door once again after several seconds. For some reason, although Zhang Tai couldn't see through the door, he knew it was Sharapova who was standing outside. Thinking of her enchanting lips, Zhang Tai jumped off the bed and rushed into the washroom once again for the 3rd cold bath. After standing outside for a while, the girl finally left. From midnight to daybreak, Zhang Tai's bedroom was knocked on by 3 more people. Each time someone did this, he would know who the person was. It was Fiona after Sharapova, while Susan was the last one. Zhang Tai then rushed into the washroom time and time again. With the help of cold water, he calmed down again and again. Although he had lain on the bed, Zhang Tai hadn't fallen asleep last night at all. Feeling muddle-headed, he held it for almost the whole night. Not until the day almost broke did he have a nap. The next morning, it was still raining outside, and the heavy downpour was only becoming heavier. After waking up, Zhang Tai went to the washroom and looked at his embarrassed look in the mirror. With red eyes which radiated with green light, he was panting with his nostrils flared like a wild wolf that had been thrown into a cage for several years after being fed with filter. After cleansing himself, Zhang Tai opened the door of his bedroom. When he came to the parlor, he found the 4 girls already up and well dressed, sitting in the sofa. Seeing him walking out, the girls immediately turned their heads and fixed their eyes on him. Zhang Tai's red eyes instantly amused Angel, while the other 3 girls showed their whites to him with haunting eyes. Zhang Tai seemed to hear them swear, "You deserve it." Angel glanced over Zhang Tai and the other girls before casting an ambiguous look at him. Zhang Tai remembered Donder's words, after serving in the army for 3 years, even Sao's could match Diaochan, 1. Zhang Tai didn't understand it at that time, however, after one night's torture, he finally understood. This morning, these 4 girls became tens of times more charming than they were last night. They were so beautiful that it could not even be portrayed in words. Their snow-white skin, beautiful eyes, lips, breasts, slim waists, and raised buttocks were so attractive. "Didn't you leave?" After uttering these words, Zhang Tai felt that his throat was a bit hoarse, like burning up. Although he said that, Zhang Tai couldn't stop glancing over their breasts with his blue eyes. "It's raining so heavily outside, where do you want us to go?" Angel glanced at Zhang Tai with dissatisfaction. "It's really like exchanging bodily fluids between the heavens and the land. The sound pa-pa of thunder is really like the crashing sound between a man and a woman." With wide-open eyes, Fiona stared at Zhang Tai in an innocent way. "Do you want us to be sprayed wet with so much bodily fluid?" Hearing Fiona's explanation, I also realized that. Angel cast her coquettish eyes at Zhang Tai. "I don't know whether someone can have so much bodily fluid as to insist on spraying the whole day." "Rain is drinkable, I heard bodily fluid is also drinkable, they really look similar." Susan licked her sexy lips. Being seduced by the girls, Zhang Tai almost charged at them that same instant. Seeing his breathing growing gradually heavier as well as the increasingly more vigorous green lights in his eyes, the girls all burst out laughing, their bodies quivering. Zhang Tai's eyes were instantly seized by the shaking meatballs in their dresses. The atmosphere in the parlor became ambiguous once again. Fiona and the other 3 girls started to seduce Zhang Tai by their moves and words. He couldn't stand it anymore and wanted to go back to his bedroom, but if he did that, he would be defeated by these women. Thus, he could only continue to stand it in the parlor. The girls' topics became more and more limitless. They started to talk about private things among girls. Only after staying in the parlor for a short while, Zhang Tai felt that he had stayed there as long as a whole year. When he felt that he needed to take another cold bath, the doorbell rang. Hearing this, Zhang Tai instantly sprung up from the sofa and rushed to open the door in an unprecedentedly fast speed. When he opened the gate of the apartment building, he saw Beverly and Pandora standing outside in a coquettish way under umbrellas. He almost burst into tears. The saving fire angels finally arrived. After Beverly and Pandora put away their umbrellas and cleaned off the water drops on their boots by stomping on the ground, they found that Zhang Tai had already opened the gate. Without even saying a word, he hurriedly hugged them while bringing them into the room, one in each hand. They could only let out soft cries of astonishment. Pandora and Beverly both sensed Zhang Tai's urgency and glow, and felt a bit weird about that. When he dragged them inside, past the parlor, they saw Angel and the other 3 girls. "Why are they here?" Beverly asked out of curiosity. "Come to my room, I will explain it to you." Zhang Tai hurriedly raced through the parlor. After bringing Pandora and Beverly back to his room, Zhang Tai threw them directly onto the bed and stripped off their clothes and pants immediately. Under their screams of astonishment, he instantly charged at them. Angel sighed and picked herself up from the sofa, intending to help Zhang Tai close the gate of the apartment building. When she returned to the parlor, some weird voices were already drifting over from his room. The next hour was like revenge to the 4 girls sitting in the parlor as various sounds, including the heavy pa-pa sound, the continual groans and gasps of Pandora and Beverly, and mice squeaks of the bedstead, were drifting over from Zhang Tai's room, making their faces grow red. The rain outside seemed to not be easing off, however. The rain in Zhang Tai's bedroom was becoming heavier. When the 4 girls couldn't stand it to sit elegantly on the sofa anymore, Zhang Tai's bedroom's door was pushed open from inside. Hearing this, the 4 girls turned their heads at the same time and caught sight of Beverly, whose hair was messy, half of the body exposed, and who was blushing heavily, from inside the room. Beverly's head and upper body were exposed. At this moment, Beverly was still wearing her corsage. From this, they could see how rash the man was. While panting heavily, Beverly talked to the girl sitting in the parlor. "Who of you would like to exchange bodily fluids and emotions with this man. We cannot stand it anymore. After saying this, Beverly, who was standing in the doorway, immediately stooped down and held the door open with her two hands. As to what was happening in the room, none of the girls in the parlor could see, but under their gazes, Beverly's every inch of skin outside the door started to quiver like how Lemna Minor is patted by sea waves. It was still booming inside the room. Only after a few minutes, Beverly, who had almost lost her consciousness, couldn't keep that standing pose anymore. She started to kneel down with her face on the floor. She was so weak that she even lied down on the thick and soft carpet inside the room. Behind the wall where nobody else could see, the fierce crashing was still making waves on Beverly's body. After a few minutes, Beverly, who had almost passed out at the door of the room, was hugged by two weird hands. She looked like she was being pulled inside by a man-eating beast. Gradually, beautiful Beverly disappeared from the door. At this time, the four girls couldn't sit anymore. Sharapova stood up and walked towards Zhang Tai's bedroom. The moment she moved close to the door, that pair of weird hands stretched out of the room once again and hugged her. Sharapova disappeared too, closely followed by a scream of astonishment. In the thunders now were Sharapova's screams and weeps. 20 minutes later, Fiona walked in. 20 more minutes later, Susan entered. After 1 hour, Angel sighed as she slid off her clothes and walked in. When she bit her lip and came inside Zhang Tai's bedroom with hands covering her breasts, what she saw made her legs go soft. She almost fell down to the ground. The room was in a mess. Beverly was lying on the bed, while Pandora lay next to her covered with bodily fluids all over. With only the strength to pant, Susan's one foot was put on the bed while half of a quilt was strewn under her body lying on the carpet. With her eyes narrowed, she had her cherry mouth half open while her body and face were covered with lustrous sweat stains, because of which, her hair was pasted onto her face. In contrast, the goblin Fiona was lying on the bed like a puppy. Swinging her hair freely, she had started to rave, whereas that man was still revealing an obscene smile on his face, seemingly enjoying convincing Fiona very much. At this time, Sharapova was using a very astonishing skill that could not even be described by words to stimulate that man who was sprinting on Fiona. Walking inside, Angel closed her eyes and hugged Zhang Tai. 1. Diaochan is one of the ancient four Chinese beauties who was born in Shaanxi province. Chapter 196, An Industrious Gardener. For the whole day, Zhang Tai felt like an industrious gardener who held a hoe in one hand while holding a kettle to water flowers on the other hand. He was industriously looking after a beautiful garden. When he noticed which patch of land in the garden was becoming hard, he would take the hoe there to loosen soil before watering it using his pot. There were 6 beautiful flowers in the garden, and he was the owner of these fresh flowers. Each gardener was clumsy in the beginning. So was Zhang Tai. Pandora was his first teacher, then Beverly. The two girls taught him how to reclaim the hard land and water the coquettish flowers. Zhang Tai learned very fast, even mastered the skills without being taught later on. He used all the skills told by that lewd guy Hista. Seeing the pot make all the buds of fresh flowers wet and beautiful like having been baptized by morning dew, Zhang Tai was very happy. He affirmed that this was the happiest thing in the world. Zhang Tai liked to see how his bodily fluids poured into the girls' bodies and flowed out from their insides, since this brought him a cool sense of conquest. Hista said that the capacity of the pot used to water flowers was limited. Average men could only water 3 to 5 times a day, however Zhang Tai felt that there was an endless life spring in his pot that would never dry up. This was probably because he had eaten 9 wild wolves' 7 strength fruits which had granted him the full strength of 9 wild wolves, including all their abilities. And it was said that when wild wolves were in estrus, they could keep doing that thing many times a month without knowing what fatigue was. Like today, even Zhang Tai himself couldn't remember how many times he had used his Mr. Mummy to water the flowers, maybe over 20 times. Take the fresh flower Sharapova for an instance. This woman's small golden fish brought Zhang Tai a great surprise as it usually liked to drill into the place which was out of Zhang Tai's imagination. Being extremely stimulated, he had to water her more times. Speaking of Fiona, he really liked to see this young mature lady's mad look, while as for Angel, who was always lofty, Zhang Tai was fascinated by her weak and imploring looks when in pain. Seeing those fresh flowers being watered with his own dew, a sense of satisfaction and achievement that Zhang Tai had not experienced before rose up inside him. He was very, very happy. Any man would be very happy at this moment. He brought all the fresh flowers back onto the bed in a row and covered them with a quilt. After that, he fetched a chair and sat on it beside the bed. Supporting his jaw with his hand, Zhang Tai enjoyed seeing them fall asleep with dew. Each of them had their special beauty. They were all his angels. I wonder what it would feel if he could water Miss Dana, Miss Chili, and that aunt nurse in the hospital. Zhang Tai couldn't resist imaging it. As a result, his mummy, which had achieved a great victory, instantly raised up once again. That might be another beauty. The torture of last night had long eased off by now. If Pandora and Beverly didn't care about how many women he would have, if Angel and the other 3 girls of Rose Association didn't care about the false name of Guardian Knight and only wanted a carnival with him, why did he have to care about that? Would any man feel unhappy to have more women? Zhang Tai kept calmly watching those women sleeping for half an hour. Sharapova, the tallest, the plumpest, and the healthiest one, woke up first. After that, she rose slightly from her side of the bed and looked at Zhang Tai, who was sitting on the chair beside the bed, with narrowed eyes. Zhang Tai then walked over to her and ducked down, giving a slight kiss on her wet and shiny forehead. Have a good rest. When you wake up, I'll make some yummy food for you. Because of great fatigue, Sharapova closed her eyes and fell asleep once again. Seeing someone waking up, Zhang Tai didn't wait anymore. After a glance over the beautiful scene on the bed, he hurriedly put on his clothes and left the bedroom. It was still pouring heavily outside. After putting on clothes, Zhang Tai quickly grabbed an umbrella and left the apartment building. He soon disappeared in the rain. After half an hour, he ran back in again with several big bags of ingredients and other items. He then became busy in the kitchen. Donder said that after making love for the first time, women needed to mend their qi and blood. Therefore, based on his memory, Zhang Tai brought back a pile of items and started to prepare supper for the women in his bedroom. As it was not his first time cooking dinner, Zhang Tai busily worked in the kitchen with great care. After a short while, the whole room was filled with the aroma of chicken soup. After the women woke up, it was already late night. Zhang Tai lighted candles in the dining room and tried to make the atmosphere as romantic as he imagined in his mind. Once they woke up, the women started to take baths and put on clothes. After that, they moved slowly and weirdly and appeared in the dining room, frowning. Zhang Tai was moving here and there in the kitchen, while the women all watched him very seriously. At this moment, he was like an average youth who was doing housework, however, who knew that this man was actually a human-shaped magic beast. Next to the table in the dining room, attracted by Zhang Tai's food and dishes, the women who had not eaten for a whole day instantly moved all of their fingers and started to eat. As Chinese food was well known all over the world, even if Zhang Tai had only learned a bit how to cook from his mom at home, his careful work could still conquer the women. Fiona stealthily scooped a small spoon of chicken soup which was stewed with ginseng, red beans, and 2 more medicinal materials. After blowing on it and silently sipping, she immediately widely opened her eyes from surprise. It tastes really good. It's much yummier than the things he forced us to drink at daytime. Brainless Fiona, who had a huge breasts, said it straightforwardly. Fiona, shut up, can you not mention what happened at daytime while we're eating? Angel became irritated and glared at Fiona, while all the others did the same. Even Pandora and Beverly became bashful. You also drank it. Why glare at me? Fiona whispered while Susan silently kicked her underneath the table. Susan, why did you kick me? You drunk most, even twice. One of them should have been Sharapova's, yet you drunk it too. You little bitch licked everything. Fiona. Susan shrieked. Fiona stuck her tongue out and didn't say anything more. At this time, Zhang Tai carried in a small pot of steaming food out of the kitchen. The food's weird aroma immediately attracted the girl's attention. What's inside the pot? The moment Pandora opened her mouth, she had scattered the embarrassed atmosphere at the table. The soup of donkey hides gelatin stewed with red jujubes. This is a very good food to Chinese women. Saying this, Zhang Tai picked up the small bowls from the table and filled one for each of them. After drinking it, you will know its advantages. This is from the second pot as I burnt the first one. Donkey hides gelatin, is that a medicinal material? Sharapova asked. I went out and bought them back when you fell asleep. Hearing Zhang Tai's explanation, the girls felt warm inside and cast milder eyes at Zhang Tai. After filling the bowls for them, Zhang Tai stared at the girls with hopeful eyes. Have a try. After cooling down the soup of donkey hides gelatin stewed with red jujubes in their bowls by blowing, they drank it one after another. The soup tasted sweet yet a bit weird. However, after drinking it for a short while, a warm sense rose up from their insides which felt very comfortable. Even the discomforts of their bodies had greatly eased off. During this meal, the girls learnt more about Zhang Tai. After the supper, he hurriedly cleaned the bowls and chopsticks in the kitchen while the girls all returned to the parlor. There, Pandora talked with Angel. Bring here all the women of your Rose Association. Pandora told Angel. I feel that he'll like that. He will leave in a few days. Don't you and Beverly know about it? Angel asked Pandora. I know, yesterday many wounded soldiers were carried back from Kalar, filling all the hospitals in Blackhot City in just one day. Now, everybody in Blackhot City knows that the Norman Empire and Sun Dynasty will fight in Kalar. The Iron Blood camp where Zhang Tai serves might be the first to drive to Kalar. So now that you know that, do you think the other girls of Rose Association will still come? Why not? Pandora stared at Angel. If he can come back alive, he will definitely have a bright future. This man is your favorite, the one who can give you a sense of safety and let you feel admired. Isn't it the life philosophy of Rose Association to struggle to encounter such a man, occupy a place in his life, and leave your marks there, even if only for a short period? If he cannot come back, as he's your first man, don't you want him to make him happy before he leaves Black Hot City? Why not treat him as a kid and satisfy him with all the happiness he wants? How many men who can stew a soup of donkey hides gelatin stewed with red jujubes for you after King you can you meet in the rest of your life? Angel became quiet. Beverly and I will not leave tonight. We will accompany him here and await your news. As you came here yesterday, I know that many girls of Rose Association have prepared to come here today. When boys tried to turn themselves into men before the survival training, girls try to turn themselves into women after the survival training. Whether he will come back or not, it would be much more interesting to choose such a brilliant man to turn you into a woman than choosing other men. Additionally, this investment will not be fully ineffective as it might bring you a huge return in the future. You should know that a man who really knows how to treasure a woman and prefers to take a cold bath many times like last night instead of opening the door of his bedroom is much more reliable than one who has the name of a guardian knight. He only needs simple and innocent happiness. So does he love and treat women in a simple and innocent way. If he cannot do it, he will leave himself. Like how he treated Alice and you when you wanted to sacrifice yourselves last night. When we stay with him, we only need to show ourselves in a simple and innocent way. Aren't you happy to be with him? Tell them what a man Zhang Tai is and leave them the choice to come here or not. Angel was then absolutely convinced. After supper, she, Fiona, Susan, and Sharapova all left. After sending them away, Zhang Tai returned to his apartment and lay on a sofa. Hugging Pandora and Beverly, he started together with them to read a book, A Journey to the Eastern Continent, that he had pulled out from Donder's bookcase. The heating units in the room had been turned on and the whole parlor became as warm as spring. Since they knew that Zhang Tai would soon go to the battlefield, Pandora and Beverly simply became as adorable and well-behaved as cats in front of him. The book was written in Chinese. Zhang Tai knew that the two girls didn't know its characters, so he interpreted them for them while he read it. The Eastern Continent portrayed in the book was a world that Zhang Tai had never imagined before. Over there, human scientific civilization represented by steam had already reached its peak. Prehistorical civilizations unearthed from underground world were as resplendent as stars. Sects in the Eastern Continent that had existed for tens of thousands of years were both mysterious and powerful. Those powerful people who had learned numerous mysterious knowledges were as many as the sands in the river. In many cities of the Eastern Continent, the sky was covered with airboats and aeroships. In one place, all the territory of a nation was only a huge tree that reached into the clouds. In the Eastern Continent, Chinese didn't call themselves the Chinese clan, the name was usually used by foreigners. Instead, all the Chinese there called themselves the Immortal Clan. This was because Chinese believed that they were blood-tied descendants of long-gone ancient gods and the incarnation of the great truth of the universe. All the blood flowing in their bodies was not mortal, but immortal. Defeating demons and bringing human beings back under the glorious light of gods was the only reason for them to drop from their galaxy onto this star and this continent. Zhang Tai was really hooked by that travelogue. How confident and proud could that clan be to call itself immortal? When Zhang Tai was interpreting the travelogue, Pandora and Beverly lay on his chest, listening attentively. The two women didn't seem too interested in the content on the travelogue. Feeling bored, they undid the buttons of Zhang Tai's shirt and started to suck his nipples using their small golden fish. Zhang Tai's blood started to boil once again. Throwing the book away, he turned his body and charged at Beverly and Pandora with his eyes glaring at the two kitties. Can you even take it anymore? We cannot and need to have a rest. But those who can will soon arrive. Pandora said with coquettish eyes while swimming her small golden fish over Zhang Tai's chest. Who's coming? Zhang Tai became curious. Didn't Angel just leave? The other women of Rose Association. What for? Zhang Tai became dumbfounded. To let you turn them into women, Beverly replied in a tender voice. Wouldn't you enjoy watering those beautiful fresh flowers? Haven't I told Angel I will leave soon? I cannot be their guardian knight. What if they didn't care about that and only wanted you to be their first man? Girls of the Rose Association choose their men in the survival training. After the survival training, they will let those men turn them into women. The more excellent the men are, the more girls would like them. Have you heard of Li Shirzhen at your school? He had picked the crowns of all the members of the Rose Association. Wouldn't you like that? Knowing the behavior styles of the girls in the Rose Association, Zhang Tai burst out laughing loudly. Only idiots would not like that. At this very moment, the doorbell of the room rang. Here are our doers. Pandora sat up from the sofa and revealed a smile at Zhang Tai. She whispered something to him, and his eyes immediately popped out. Pandora ran off to open the door. Half a minute later, she brought in 8 girls of the Rose Association wearing amices. Well, it's your turn now. Pandora and I are really tired today and need to take a rest. Beverly winked at the 8 girls before pulling Pandora into another bedroom, leaving the parlor to Zhang Tai and the 8 new girls. After exchanging glances with each other, the 8 girls slid off their amices at the same time, revealing their young bodies, beautiful dresses, and faces. Zhang Tai felt slightly dizzy. I'm Helena, I simply want to do it today. A beautiful girl with brownish red wavy hair walked towards Zhang Tai, giving him a smile before lowering her head and starting a hot kiss with him. More and more girls walked towards him. The entire apartment became unprecedentedly amorous once again. Chapter 197, A Mad Youthhood. Zhang Tai couldn't even believe that his sex happiness would arrive so fast. From today onward, for the next 7 days, he almost didn't leave the apartment at all. Each day, fresh, delicate, and charming faces would appear in his room, 7 to 8 at least, 10 odd at most. They came and left in batches. Zhang Tai felt that he was a gardener and a wolf king. In the valley, while the pack of wolves were howling towards the moon, he was standing on the high platform and occupied all the female wolves of the entire valley. Angel, Susan, Fiona, Sharapova, Helena, Doris, Anna, Isel, Garbo, Jennifer, Isabel, Julia, Lucy, Mary, Barbara, Caroline, Wendy, Lily. 82 girls of Rose Association came here in batches. During these days, under Zhang Tai's watering, they all turned from girls into women. There were a couple of days during this period that Zhang Tai didn't even wear clothes for the whole day. Besides going to the toilet, each second was spent convincing, and constantly convincing. The bedding and bed sheets in Zhang Tai's bedroom would be changed each day. During these days, each day, he would feel like he was in paradise. This small apartment was simply his palace. The Rose Association, composed of beautiful girls from those female middle schools in Black Hot City, really helped him experience the feeling of being a king this week. On the 3rd day since this king's travel started, Angel and the other 3 girls became the first batch of devoted customers in his palace. After that, there were more and more devoted customers who started to come together with those fresh faces. The ways that those girls of the Rose Association used to please Zhang Tai really broadened his vision. He was extremely favored by these girls. Even the exclusive skills of Sharapova and Susan, who used them on Zhang Tai on the first day, were soon learned by a great number of girls. On the 4th day, in the bathroom, Zhang Tai broke his record. Over 12 small golden fish swam across him at the same time. In the beginning, Zhang Tai felt that he was a gardener, but later on, he felt that he was a traveler who was feeding pigeons in the square. Pigeons liked the traveler who had endless food, and that food itself sprayed by the traveler. Girls were both fresh flowers and pigeons. Girls who were new here were fresh flowers, while those who came here for the second time became pigeons. The fresh flowers were very coy, needing him to water them, while pigeons were very brave, not afraid of being sprayed. Instead, they kept uttering goo goo. After that, they would fly up and down beside him by fluttering their wings, opening their mouths to chase after him, wanting him to feed them more food. This was an extremely absurd, charming, and mad week of only happiness which Zhang Tai would never forget for the rest of his life. Many girls were absolutely convinced by Zhang Tai and started to crazily worship him. This was an original worship related to reproduction. The powerful men would all receive this worship. For some reason, Zhang Tai really didn't feel tired. At most in several minutes, his mummy would be grim once again and start to water flowers everywhere or feed the pigeons which chased after him until they were full enough and lay on the ground, unable to jump anymore. Among the girls of Rose Association, Zhang Tai had a wholly new name or nickname, Lord Magic Beast. Not knight but a lord, Lord Magic Beast. If the lord that he named himself in the castle of Black Iron was not included, this would be the first time for Zhang Tai to be called Lord Magic Beast. Although only being called this on the bed, Zhang Tai was still exceptionally satisfied. The first girl that called Zhang Tai Lord Magic Beast was Hiltina, who could be seen as Zhang Tai's first worshipper. It would take others at least 2 days to turn from fresh flowers to pigeons. However, Hiltina, after being in a coma for several times after the first day, had already become the very pigeon that chased after Zhang Tai most closely. Because of Hiltina, Zhang Tai's palace became more dissolute in an all-round manner. Usually, what one girl did successfully would soon be imitated by the other girls, who could even make some innovations. Hiltina stuck even more to Zhang Tai than Pandora. Never underestimate woman's braveness and creativity. This was what Zhang Tai had concluded in these days. However, happy times would always come to an end. Today, Zhang Tai's mom, who had not seen her youngest son for more than 1 week, felt bored and came to the apartment on Avenue Monet. In the recent days, Zhang Tai's mom had heard some more gossip about him. People said that her son was assassinated at school, poisoned, and almost died. Everybody said so. Therefore, she became dubious. Recalling the scene of him outside the home, she realized that he didn't even get off the car. Besides, his voice and expression hadn't seemed right. She then became worried about him again. Because of Kaller's war affair, the atmosphere in Black Hot City was a bit tense. Missing her son so much, Zhang Tai's mom firstly went to the battalion headquarters of Iron Blood Camp to ask about him. After learning that he was recuperating these couple of days, she hurriedly rushed into the hospital only to get the answer that he had left. Therefore, she rushed to Avenue Monet. In the eyes of Zhang Tai's mom, now that he was neither in the military camp nor at home, he must be hiding in here. Previously, Zhang Tai had given a copy of the keys for this apartment building to his parents. Therefore, his mom could easily open the gate of the apartment building and start walking closer. Before opening the door of the residence, she was still worried about Zhang Tai's wounds. If her son was really recuperating in his residence, what should she do then? As it was such a critical event for the Zhang family, he shouldn't lie to his parents. Should she blame him for not telling her about that? After hesitating for quite a while, she finally opened the door of Zhang Tai's residence. Before opening it, two scenes had flashed across her mind. One was that Zhang Tai was not in the apartment but hiding somewhere else. If so, she decided to ferociously beat him up when she saw him next time, and the other one was of Zhang Tai lying alone in the room. If so, she would comfort him first before sending him back home. After he was well recovered, she would deal with him about this. Even though she had imagined tens of thousands of scenes in her mind, she could never imagine what was going on with her son. There was a fountain in the city square of Black Hot City. On the fountain there was a sculpture, a nude 8 to 9-year-old boy supporting his waist with two hands and having a P with his hand holding his D**ck in an arrogant way. The water was flowing out of that boy's D**ck and falling into the pond below. There were some more sculptures in the pond, a shoal of golden threadfin breams who were opening their mouths towards the water flowing out of the boy's D*ck. The sculptures of this fountain were delicate, beautiful, and poetic. They were also featuring childish and fairy tale things, and were one of the landmarks of Black Hot City. Many people liked to take photos of the fountain. Certainly, at the sight of such a cute boy, even if nude, nobody would connect it to any embarrassing scene. Because children were always naive and innocent. When Zhang Tai's mom opened the door, it was like she saw the live version of the sculptures in the fountain on the city square of Black Hot City. Zhang Tai was standing in the middle of the parlor just like the nude boy sculpture. With the exception of his silly and obscene smile, and being surrounded by a great number of girls, he looked almost the same as that boy's sculpture from feet to his head, with hands supporting his waist. It was all messy in the apartment. Over 10 girls were disorderly lying in the room in a raptured way, messiness both on and off their bodies. The clutter stretched from the parlor to Zhang Tai's bedroom. Girls' clothes, underwear, skirts, and dresses were thrown everywhere. The entire room was like a dressing room in the back of the theater of Black Hot City that had been swept by bandits. Guegua. Zhang Tai's mom stood there for as long as 5 minutes, dumbfounded. After affirming that what she saw was not her hallucination, she screamed loudly, which startled everyone in the room. While busy feeding a pigeon, Zhang Tai turned his head. When he saw his mom watching him with wide-open eyes, because of shock and provocation, his D*ck almost became impotent. Quivering all over, Zhang Tai immediately turned pale. He then covered his lower abdomen using his hand and squatted down. Embarrassed, he asked, "Mom, why are you here?" The girls who had turned into small golden fish hurriedly fetched their clothes, causing a great chaos in the apartment. The present scene was really too embarrassing to see for parents. Zhang Tai's mom closed her eyes and walked out of the gate to wait. Not until more than 10 minutes later did girls, who were now well dressed, rapidly left the apartment building, heads lowered. Some girls weren't even able to walk, so they were supported on their way by others. At the beginning, when the first 2 girls left, Zhang Tai's mom was very irritated inside. However, after the number grew to 6, she became worried about Zhang Tai. When it became 9, she became surprised. Then she saw more walking out and became shocked. With several more, even she didn't know how she felt. The rich lecherous look was still on the girl's eyebrows. As a woman who had experienced love affairs, Zhang Tai's mom certainly could notice that. As a mother, even with her eyes closed, she could still smell her son's odor from those girls only with a single sniff. In total, 17 girls left Zhang Tai's apartment. Counting them, Zhang Tai's mom became a bit numb. Was this her natural son? How could he be so great? Not until 20 minutes later did Zhang Tai put on his clothes and walk out of the apartment, head lowered. He opened the gate of the apartment building and found his mom standing outside. Then, he silently moved over there and smiled brightly. "Mom." She turned back and stared at him with a strict expression. At this moment, Zhang Tai's face looked white and red with firm and bright eyes, shiny pitch-black hair, healthy and plump lips. He looked very energetic and excellent, as good as a fresh steamed bun that had been just made, far different from being sick, fatigued, and weak. Without being able to find any fault in him, his mom finally flicked his forehead fiercely with her finger. After that, she turned and left. Knowing that mom was not that angry anymore, Zhang Tai hurriedly smiled even brighter. After his mom's checkup, his mad life finally came to an end. When he came back home in the afternoon, certainly he was interrogated by his family members. Of course, they just pretended to blame him. After Zhang Tai lowered his head and promised that he would never do this again later on, they let him go. As his parents felt too embarrassed to ask much, they didn't continue. No matter what, the boy didn't suffer a loss in this event. While back home, Zhang Tai went back to his attic where he entered the castle of black iron and took out 4,000 gold coins. He then put the gold coins into the handbag and left them under the bed. He then silently told his elder brother Zhang Yang that he had left something under the bed in the attic for him and told him to take it out alone in the evening. Finally, Zhang Tai ate supper and left under his mom's repetitive advices and grumbles. Zhang Tai had indulged in the crazily happy times during the past several days, so he hadn't seen sunlight during this period. He was like a human-shaped steam engine which only knew ignition and filling in water as he kept making piston movements from the morning to the evening. He hadn't walked out of the gate of the apartment building for many days. So now, he suddenly felt that the atmosphere in Black Hot City seemed to have become more tense. The most obvious was that there were more military cars running on the avenues of Black Hot City. The faces of the patrolling soldiers looked more solemn. The military vehicles that were pulling various military materials out of the railway station passed by the waterlogged road and sprayed water from the puddles so high that passers-by had to pay attention to avoid them. Even Zhang Tai's dark red military pants were sprayed with some gray mud stains. Walking on the avenues of Black Hot City, Zhang Tai breathed the air after rain which contained a wisp of the coldness of autumn. He gradually struggled out of the mountains of butts and seas of female flesh and started to recover composure. As he was busy being a gardener these days, he had not finished a lot of things. The movable houses in the castle of black iron had not been assembled, the new yeast fluid had not been fabricated, the bastard Samira was still free out there, he hadn't gone to the Ironthorns fighting club, or seen the old hag Mary. There were many things that had to be solved before he left Black Hot City. When Zhang Tai was walking on the avenue, a car parked over 10 meters ahead him. A brat with smooth and shiny hair stretched out his head from the window. Slightly hesitant, he was thought about whether to greet Zhang Tai or not. Before the brat could open his mouth, Zhang Tai shook his hands towards him. "Come on, baby." Benet then revealed a smile as he pushed open the door and got off the car, followed by a muscled bodyguard. Being somewhat alert, the bodyguard stared at Zhang Tai. His military uniform had an extremely great deterrent force in Black Hot City. At the sight of the dark red military uniform of the Norman Empire, commoners had to be careful. It was said that because the Gregory family had offended a second lieutenant in this military uniform, it was almost exterminated. In the end, Gregory family had paid a lot to deal with this event. So now, which rich person in Black Hot City would dare to be arrogant before the Ironblood army of Norman Empire? Zhang Tai. Walking towards him, Benet seemed to be a bit nervous. He had also heard about Zhang Tai's affair and knew that he was not the flesh bag that was used to be beaten up anymore. After learning of what had happened between him and Zhang Tai, Benet's family had already considered how to relieve the relationship between the two of them. Although others didn't know which second lieutenant of the Roman Empire the Gregory family had offended, Benet knew it very well. Compared to Gregory family, Benet's family was much poorer. Therefore, they did not have enough money to offend Zhang Tai. From the moment Black Hot City was incorporated into the territory of Norman Empire, Zhang Tai was the only native commoner who joined the army of the Norman Empire and became a military officer. In the circle of Black Hot City, Zhang Tai was even more well known than he could imagine. This explained why the smart girls of Rose Association had poured into Zhang Tai's apartment like how moths flew towards fire. Many smart ones among the girls knew it much clearer than Zhang Tai how important he was at this moment. In the eyes of Angel and some other innocent girls, the sense of crisis deep in their hearts told them that he might not even be able to protect himself in the coming battlefield. However, those smart and realistic girls of Rose Association who were more politically savvy than Zhang Tai saw a handsome military officer who had a bright future with a powerful military background of the Norman Empire and could even influence the vicissitudes of the rich families in Black Hot City. It was just rolling on bed sheets. If they could sleep with such a man and form a kind karma with him, there might be some good legends about them in the future. Why not? This was how many girls of Rose Association truly thought. Your hairstyle is really bad, mosquitoes would slip down on it. After Zhang Tai casually commented about Benet's hairstyle, Benet immediately became relaxed. He found that Zhang Tai was still the same as before, and they were not estranged at all. I don't feel it's good either, but my mom told me this would look more solemn. With this look, I will not be treated as a kid by touching my head anymore. It's good for me since I'll be taking over the Benet family in the future. Benet revealed a smile. You have a wise mother. She's right. Zhang Tai smiled. Well, where are you going, Mr. Benet? Benet felt very happy to talk with Zhang Tai as his words were not as boring as ones of those big figure beside him who would always give him a lesson or show an obsequious expression. In Benet's eyes, Zhang Tai was like his friend, a friend that could ignore his status and respect him. I will go to the Iron Thorns Fighting Club. Can I take a ride then? I also want to have a look inside the club. Manager Hans invited me to have a look there when I was free. Fine, my honor. Zhang Tai then got into Benet's car. Only after a short while, they had already arrived at the Iron Thorns Fighting Club. What Zhang Tai didn't know was that after they entered the fighting club, the car that drove Benet here was not parked in the parking lot but drove back to Benet's home at a much faster speed. That home was a castle-like manor in the south of Blackhot City. In a spacious and luxurious study room in the manor, Benet's bodyguard and driver were reporting to a woman. Mrs. Young Master encountered Zhang Tai on the way to the fighting club. Zhang Tai took a ride there. Tell me all the details about the encounter. An emotionless yet attractive female voice drifted through the room. Chapter 198, Back in the Fighting Club. The Iron Thorns Fighting Club remained unchanged, at least from outside. Unlike last time when he had walked in carefully, uncertain of himself, this time, he directly entered it from the VIP tunnel of the parking lot of the fighting club before taking the VIP elevator and reached the VIP service area on the first floor of the fighting club. Previously, Zhang Tai didn't even have the qualifications to enter the VIP area at all. While Benet was changing his clothes in the VIP area on the first floor, Zhang Tai walked out of the room and prepared to greet Manager Hans. No matter what, now that he had promised Manager Hans to be the counselor of the fighting club and had come here, he should go greet him, if purely for a good reputation. Although it was just a reputation, the compensation paid by the fighting club was true. 20 gold coins a week was definitely a high compensation in Blackhot City. According to Zhang Tai's knowledge, only those top traders of bulk commodity exchanges or managers of business groups in Blackhot City might get such high compensation. 20 gold coins a week meant at least 1,000 gold coins a year. This was a huge amount of money. The business in the fighting club was so good that it was almost out of Zhang Tai's imagination. It seemed even more boisterous than when he had worked here before. After the Blackhot City encountered a huge change, it seemed that more people had become clear-minded and started to realize how important fighting strength was. In this age, money was both a strength and a power, however, only fighting strength was the true strength and true power. Although money could usually turn into fighting strength, the latter could become money at any time. Over the past month, what Andaman Alliance had encountered had fully portrayed this point. Andaman Alliance, the alliance of cities full of business atmosphere, could never match Norman Empire's custom for worshipping fighting strength. Soon after the Blackhot City became a LV4 city in the administrative region of Brunswick Province under the jurisdiction of the governor of the Northern Border Army of the Norman Empire, people soon experienced this difference and rapidly adapted to the new model. In the strictly hierarchical system of the Norman Empire, owning powerful fighting strength was definitely a shortcut towards heaven. Additionally, Zhang Tai became the representative for stepping onto this shortcut in Blackhot City. On the way from the VIP service area to Manager Hans's office, he encountered several friends in the fighting club. They all knew Zhang Tai's current status, which was far more noble than before, especially after seeing his handsome military uniform. They all treated him 100 times better than before. Those brilliant smiles and considerate greetings and sincerity really made Zhang Tai comfortable and brought him a cool sense of returning to the hometown as a rich and well-known person. After refusing several familiar workers' sincere guidance, Zhang Tai directly came to Manager Hans's office, the door of which was half open. Although he could directly push in, he still behaved politely by standing outside the door and knocking on it. His mom had taught him to not lose ambition when in trouble and politeness in success. Zhang Tai usually bore it in mind and warned himself. Come in. Manager Hans's voice drifted from inside. Hearing his voice, Zhang Tai pushed in. It seemed some people in his office were talking about something with Manager Hans. Hearing someone pushing in, they all turned their heads and stared at Zhang Tai. Manager Hans seemed to not have imagined that Zhang Tai could come to the fighting club at this moment. Neither did other people who were talking with Manager him could have imagined that the incomer was a military officer of the Norman Empire. Therefore, they all became slightly dumbfounded. Manager Hans was the first to recognize Zhang Tai, and his fat body instantly stood up from the chair behind the desk at an unprecedentedly fast speed. He then strode towards Zhang Tai. Pulling his hands, Manager Hans told the others with a proud look, "Do you believe that this is Zhang Tai, the most excellent youth in Blackhot City? The senior counselor of the Iron Thorns Fighting Club and second lieutenant of the Iron Blood Camp of No. 39 Division of the Norman Empire. The genius among millions of people in Blackhot City who has mastered Iron Blood Fist skill, the secret imperial knowledge of the Norman Empire at the age of 15. Before becoming our counselor, he was our member. He always accepted the strictest tests in our fighting club. If you don't believe me, you can ask him. Which fighting club among those across Blackhot City could cultivate such a talent? If you choose Ironthorn's Fighting Club, we will never let you down. Our objective is to let you feel that each coin that you spend here is worth it." Hearing Manager Hans's words, Zhang Tai's face blushed. The people sitting in the office seemed to be from the same family, a 40-year-old man dressed in extravagant clothes with an out-thrust big belly, a noble woman adorned with many jewels and pearls, her eyes very discerning, and two 10-year-old boys with blonde hair, twins. Listening to Manager Hans's introduction, all family members cast their eyes onto Zhang Tai. So he also gave a smile and nodded his head to show his respect to them. Can he teach our little Victor and little Peter about the secret imperial fighting skills of the Norman Empire? The lady dressed like a noblewoman uttered the words that almost choked Zhang Tai and Manager Hans. Once he teaches our little Victor and little Peter about the secret imperial knowledge of the Norman Empire and allow our babies to become military officers of the Norman Empire when they grow up, letting our family members become soldiers of the Norman Empire, we will pay for that, regardless of the amount of gold coins. Right, darling. Feeling embarrassed, the man coughed twice, seemingly also realizing that his woman was too rash. The woman seemed not to understand what Iron Blood Fist skill was. In contrast, the man seemed to know a bit more. Therefore, he looked a bit embarrassed by what his woman thought about the secret imperial knowledge of the Norman Empire. In her eyes, the Iron Blood Fist skill was just like a cheap cabbage on the roadside of the market that could be authorized for dispatch. Inviting Zhang Tai to take a seat for a second, Manager Hans returned to his chair. "Mrs., your requirement is too special. There's only one place across the Blackson Human Clan corridor where one could barely meet your requirement." "Where, can you tell me?" The woman became interested in that. "I'm afraid that only half of the imperial members of the Norman Empire could meet your requirement." After hearing that even imperial members of the Norman Empire could only meet half of her requirement, the woman became quiet, fixing her widely opened eyes on Manager Hans. Shrugging his shoulders, Manager Hans said, "Here, I could only promise you we will give your babies the best training and treatment. We will not let you pay for it in vain. If they can perform well in the future, they may be able to accept the guidance of a senior of our fighting club and witness what is Iron Blood Fist skill." Seeing his short-sighted woman wanting to say something else, that man hurriedly opened his mouth to stop her further talk before the military officer of the Norman Empire. "Manager Hans, that's a deal, we're very satisfied with everything here and have determined to send our kids here for training." Manager Hans saw off this family to the door of his office and let a person guide them to deal with the membership formalities. When the man left, Hans nodded towards Zhang Tai with a wisp of apology, wanting to say something. Seeing his slight apology and carefulness, Zhang Tai, who was sitting on the sofa, shook his head, expressing his forgiveness. It was not good to treat Iron Blood Fist skill as a cheap cabbage that could be exchanged with several gold coins before a military officer of the Norman Empire. That man hurriedly took his woman away in case she would say something else that might get them in trouble. For families like theirs which became rich by digging mines, the most adorable thing is their gold coins. The most boring thing is also their gold coins. Returning to the side of his office, Manager Hans opened a cigar box that was put on his desk and made a pose to share one with Zhang Tai, asking whether he needed one. Zhang Tai shook his head, so Manager Hans enjoyed it by himself. "Business here seems not bad." Zhang Tai revealed a smile. "Much better than before. Rules in Blackhot City have changed. Therefore, everybody else needed to change as well. In the Norman Empire, the supreme status of a businessman is soldier, while soldiers who have fighting contributions can be then promoted to the meritorious clan, even noble clan. After becoming a meritorious clan or a noble clan, if you can marry an imperial girl, you may be able to join the company of the imperial clan. In the recent days, the best seller in the bookstores here was The Charter of Orders, which introduced the hierarchical system of the Norman Empire." Sucking a mouth of the burning cigar, Manager Hans said, "I heard the military administration of Blackhot City has already started counting and dividing social classes for people from all walks of life across Blackhot City. Once this work is completed, the Blackhot City will officially end military control and enter the ruling system of the Norman Empire. As for guys like me who only know how to make money, if we could submit tax a bit more frequently so that we could reach a certain amount or directly bring a huge amount of donation to the empire in the future, we can reluctantly be promoted to the soldier class. Without being a soldier, according to the rules of the Norman Empire, I would be forbidden to even take a private car out in the future. Instead, I could only take a carriage. Besides, the color and the adornments of the carriage should not be golden, red, white, or black. The quantity of horses used to pull the carriage should not be more than 2. I could not use above LV2 mutated horses, other magical beasts, or other thoroughbred horses regulated by the Norman Empire that can only be used by meritorious clan and other classes above meritorious clan. There are also regulations on the size of the carriage. Oh, I almost forgot it, I would be forbidden to smoke cigars in the public. Instead, I could only smoke it at home or in the office. Manager Hans then sighed with a dejected expression. The good days of the new rich and Blackhot City will soon come to an end. Seeing Manager Hans's sorrowful face, at first Zhang Tai intended to express his sympathy about him. However, after thinking that there would be more guys who could only do small businesses, who, in Zaram's words, could only sit in small carriages with weird colors and run across Blackhot City, Zhang Tai couldn't take it and burst out laughing loudly. From another perspective, the hierarchical system of the Norman Empire was also lovely. Horseshit and horse fart don't smell good. Zhang Tai burst out laughing loudly as he mocked. Taking the cigar, Manager Hans became dumbfounded before burst out laughing too. You are free today? I'm here to look around and get the salary. By the way, the military uniform's largest benefit is to show off my power and prestige and satisfy my vanity. Zhang Tai replied honestly. Manager Hans laughed out louder, feeling that Zhang Tai was very interesting. He felt very relaxed and happy talking with him. Fine, you're our logo, many people are here for you. I will prepare money for you and pay you a year's salary. You go out to show off your power and prestige first, I'll give you your money when you leave. That's fine. Saying this, Zhang Tai stood up. Which do you want, gold notes or gold coins? Manager Hans asked. Gold coins? I like that heavy feeling of gold coins in hand. The same for me. Manager Hans smiled once again. Walking out of Manager Hans's office, Zhang Tai came directly to the VIP area and started to enjoy the VIP treatment in the fighting club. As he had said he was leaving for greetings, Benet was still waiting for him here. Fetch me those female assistants here, I want to choose one. After entering the VIP area, Zhang Tai directly ordered the service manager of this area. Receiving his order, the service manager left. Seemingly knowing what Zhang Tai wanted to do, Benet opened his mouth and wanted to say something, however, he didn't utter it. Mary was just a common female assistant in the fighting club. After Zhang Tai left, Benet in the end didn't convince Mary to become his woman. Additionally, after knowing what happened between him and Zhang Tai, his mom had already strictly warned him to not get along with Mary anymore. In Benet's mom's words, foolish and self-important women like Mary could only bring disasters to men beside them. After a while, dozens of young beauties arrived at the VIP area. They started to tempt Zhang Tai with their eyes. Mary was also among them. Zhang Tai immediately caught sight of her. Meanwhile, she also caught sight of him. Although there were many legends about Zhang Tai, the moment she saw him, Mary's face turned pale and her whole body quivered. Pointing at Mary, Zhang Tai didn't speak, but revealed a smile. Everybody realized that he was gazing at Mary, so the surrounding female assistants also cast their eyes onto her too. Under the complex, jealous, or gloating eyes, Mary walked out of the crowd, quivering all over. That's her, I want Mary. An abrupt voice drifted from the side with a rich, aggressive atmosphere. Zhang Tai turned back and saw a familiar brat who was walking here accompanied by 2 bodyguards. The moment he walked over, he raised his eyebrows towards Zhang Tai in a defiant manner. However, at the sight of Zhang Tai's military uniform, one of the 2 bodyguards hurriedly changed his face and lowered his head to whisper to the brat. Unexpectedly, he was ferociously glared at by the brat. Shut up. After watching the defiant brat for a while, Zhang Tai finally recognized who he was, the brat who had kicked him so abruptly and ferociously that he had passed out the first time he came to the fighting club. His name might have been Gregory. Chapter 199, After visiting the fighting club. Realizing the atmosphere here was not right, the manager of the VIP area hurriedly rushed over. Young Master Gregory, if you need a female assistant, we'll arrange one for you after a while. After a while? Aren't they standing here? Besides, I've just chosen one, the brat said with an emotionless expression. Another guest is choosing right now, the manager of the VIP area explained. Never mind, I only choose Mary. Besides, I've not heard that anyone else had chosen her. According to the rules of the fighting club, I can choose anyone as long as she wasn't chosen yet. What's wrong with you? With an expression of an adult, the stuffy brat even started to scold him. Don't tell me that Mary has been chosen by others. With so many people here, did anyone hear Mary's name or see someone choose her? I'm the first one who called her name, therefore, she's mine. The manager of the VIP area was so heavily choked by the words that he couldn't even utter a word. Since the brat walked in, Zhang Tai had been watching him. He was curious why such an innocent guy would still offend him on this trivial matter even if the Gregory family had already reconciled with him. He was really confused. Is your family named Gregory? Zhang Tai asked. Of course. The brat proudly raised his head and continued to stare at Zhang Tai in an aggressive way. Gregory family of Black Hot City? The brat gave a cold harumph. Do you know who I am? Zhang Tai pointed at his own nose. I know. The brat revealed a sinister smile. More than 2 months ago, you were the lowest level fleshbag who couldn't even stand 10 seconds in front of me and passed out after my first kick. Ha 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 ha. The brat purposely said it loudly, making Zhang Tai lose a lot of face. When the brat burst out laughing loudly, the 2 bodyguards beside him nervously stared at Zhang Tai since both of them were LV6 Black Spider warriors, and they knew that Zhang Tai could immediately kill a Black Spider warrior even when heavily wounded. Noticing that Zhang Tai had narrowed his eyes at Gregory, the 2 bodyguards felt nervous and walked 1 step forward, wishing to protect their charge. Zhang Tai didn't move, just smiled. Your family name is Gregory, which surname grants you a lot of privileges in the fighting club. Additionally, because of your surname, you're qualified to stand here and talk so much with me. As there are so many people at your age in Black Hot City, but I'm afraid that nobody else dares to talk so much in front of a military officer of the Norman Empire. Can I ask you a question? What? I know you rich kids are always early, so I want to ask whether you are here to talk about this on behalf of your family? Zhang Tai smiled, and the surrounding atmosphere seemed to freeze over. At first the brat wanted to reply, of course, but before he could exclaim it, an unknown sense of danger immediately made his heart pound. He swallowed his words back. Of course not, even if you are a military officer of the Norman Empire, don't you let others talk? I'm also a member of the Norman Empire, or do you wear this military uniform to scare the citizens? Which rule of the Norman Empire forbids me from talking with you? Which sentence I said just now was fake? Did I slander you? Isn't it that I chose Mary as my female assistant before you? Don't I have the right to do that, or does the Iron Thorns Fighting Club need to succumb to a second lieutenant of the Norman Empire? Seeing Zhang Tai becoming dumbfounded, the brat became pleased with himself. This time, even Manager Hans was shocked and rushed over. Seeing him standing outside the door of the VIP area, Zhang Tai revealed a smile. Of course you have the right. What you said was right. I'm just a counselor of the fighting club and truly have no reason to quarrel with customers. You are very welcome to stay here. After saying this, Zhang Tai glanced at Mary. Mary, as young Master Gregory wants you to be his assistant, you then should serve him well, go with him. Thus, Gregory happily took Mary away, and the atmosphere in the VIP service area also gradually eased off. After hurriedly arriving here, the manager looked deeply at Zhang Tai, then left too. After seeing Zhang Tai lose the verbal duel, Benet seemed being much unhappier than Zhang Tai himself. Why do you compromise with him? Gregory was over-excessive just now. Obviously you chose Mary first, yet he grabbed her away and even offended you with aggressive words. Why not beat him up? Benet asked Zhang Tai out of fury. Would you wrestle with a boar in the wallow? Zhang Tai asked Benet. Benet shook his head. Why do you want me to argue with an idiot who only knows how to show off his glibness in speech? If you wrestle with a boar, you will be very dirty and as foolish as him whether you end up the winner or the loser. After seriously thinking about it for a while, Benet seemed to understand it a bit. If you want to deal with a boar in the wallow, you might need a long spear or crossbow and bolts, but to deal with such an idiot who only knows how to show off his glibness in speech or wits, you don't even need to do anything as his foolishness is already enough to kill himself. What do you mean? Benet became a bit confused. What's his rank on succeeding the heritage of Gregory family? Below 40, this one comes from the branch of Gregory family. A brat coming from the branch of Gregory family. Zhang Tai shook his head. Just wait, this is the last time for this poor brat to be here in the Iron Thorns Fighting Club. Zhang Tai had already understood a bit what that brat was thinking about. When people who lived like kings since they were young found those whom they looked down upon before, ones that would pass out after a casual kick, not even qualified to be fleshbags, suddenly having changed in status and making their family suffer a miserable loss, what would they feel about such people? This feeling would be very complicated. If one couldn't face squarely the fact and would still treat the other as that humble fleshbag who had been casually trampled on by you and could only make 80 copper coins an hour, you might do silly things like what Gregory did today. After such an incident, Zhang Tai had no mood to continue staying in the fighting club. Besides, what had happened just now had also scared Mary greatly. He felt it unnecessary to care about the small conflict anymore. So Zhang Tai bade farewell to Benet and got his 1 year's salary, over 1,000 gold coins that weighed over 20 kilograms, from the manager in Hance's office, then left the Ironthorns Fighting Club. Avenue Bright was still luxurious. Even now, when the business here were doing much worse compared to before, the stores on both sides of Avenue Bright were still selling the best items in the Black Hot City. After leaving the Fighting Club, Zhang Tai walked for over 10 minutes down this avenue until he arrived before a jewelry store. All the items inside were radiating with golden and dazzling lights. A few clerks were standing behind the counter. Zhang Tai saw 7 or 8 jewelry craftsmen still working behind a glass partition past the counter. Besides selling jewelries, this store could also do customization and processing of gems. Based on the Girls of the Rose Association words, this was the best jewelry store in Black Hot City. Zhang Tai's military uniform won him warm welcome the moment he entered the store. He carefully browsed through the wares inside. There are so many items in the store that they almost dazzled him. Soon, a set of golden jewelry entered his vision, the theme of which was a rose. It was very delicate and beautiful, and consisted of a ring, bracelet, a pair of earrings, and a necklace. In Black Hot City, if any family wanted to marry their daughter, they could choose this set of jewelry as a very graceful dowry. Give me this set of jewelry. Fine. Very happy, the clerk immediately took out of that set of jewelry that was put on the green velvet in a tray. After a careful look, Zhang Tai was very satisfied with it. What's its price? Zhang Tai asked. Wait a moment please. This set can be sold in parts or as a set. I will calculate it for you. The ring weighs 13.6 g, bracelet 78.8 g, necklace 31.5 g, pair of earrings 144.9 g, plus our processing fee, which leaves it at 8 gold coins and 38 silver coins. 8 gold coins weighed 200 g, 38 silver coins were equivalent to 9.5 g of gold content. Zhang Tai then immediately calculated the premium of this set of gold jewelry, 44.5%. This was truly the best jewelry store in Black Hot City as the price was a bit higher here. The premium in other jewelry stores would usually not surpass 30%, yet the number was close to 50% here. However, judging from the delicate workmanship, Zhang Tai felt it was very proper. It was most important that someone would like this. Can you carve words on it? Of course, we can both carve words on the ring and the bracelet. We can carve out whatever you want to tell your beloved one for free. With a pair of sharp eyes, at the sight of Zhang Tai's age and look, the clerk immediately knew whom Zhang Tai was presenting the jewelry to. Do you plan to gift this to your beloved one? Zhang Tai smiled and nodded in a bashful way. If you want to gift this to your beloved one, this set of jewelry will definitely accompany her for the rest of her life. After carving her name or what do you want to say to her on it, it would be very romantic. Seeing a great chance for this deal, the clerk felt much better and became more enthusiastic about Zhang Tai. Do you want it? Of course. If so, we can gift you a delicate packing case and a fresh rose. The clerk also smiled. Your beloved girl will definitely love it. I think so. Zhang Tai smirked. Give me 82 sets like this. What? The clerk could almost not believe his ears. With eyes widely opened, he stared at Zhang Tai. Pardon? I said, I want 82 sets like this. Zhang Tai repeated. This time the clerk's eyes filled with doubts and vigilance. 82 sets of such expensive jewelry? He felt that Zhang Tai was a liar in the military uniform of the Norman Empire. In the end, the boss with a pair of gold-rimmed glasses came out himself. Zhang Tai was then invited into a lounge behind the counter of the jewelry store. You mean you want 82 sets like this one? The boss of the jewelry store carefully asked as he had long gotten used to eliminating disasters that dealt with large sums. Although soldiers of the Norman Empire enjoyed a very good reputation, there were always some worms. Businessmen were most of these barbarous soldiers. Yes. By cash or? By cash. Zhang Tai put the handbag that contained over 1,000 gold coins on the tea table, causing a sound of pa. After that, he opened the handbag by pulling the zipper and the brilliant golden light. As we have not enough inventory to proceed right away, it may take me a bit longer to prepare for it. Seeing the cash, the boss immediately let out a sigh as he felt cold sweat covering his whole back. How many days do you need? 3 days. Okay, no problem, I can pay you first. I will come back for the jewelry 3 days later. Zhang Tai replied generously. In Black Hot City, he really wasn't afraid of being cheated now. 10 minutes later, he left the jewelry store with only a bit more than 200 gold coins in his handbag. He had just spent the biggest amount of money ever since he was born. When the boss counted the gold coins, he didn't sweat, but at the sight of the list of names which Zhang Tai had requested him to carve out on the jewelry sets, he was instantly drenched. To my beloved baby angel, Zhang Tai. To my beloved baby Susan, Zhang Tai. To my beloved baby Fiona, Zhang Tai. To my beloved baby Sharapova, Zhang Tai. To my beloved baby Victoria, Zhang Tai. To my beloved baby Jennifer, Zhang Tai. To my beloved baby Hiltina, Zhang Tai. To my beloved baby Helena, Zhang Tai. There were 82 babies on 82 sets of jewelry. Besides, Zhang Tai had chosen 3 unique rings inlaid with huge and exquisite gemstones on each of them, requesting the jewelry store to carve words on them too. One was a black sealed ring for Pandora. Zhang Tai felt that a black stone would match her a lot. He also asked them to carve a sentence on the back of the ring: I know you love me in your special way, I love you too, Zhang Tai. The second was a ruby inlaid ring for Beverly. That ruby on the ring reminded Zhang Tai of Beverly's passionate short hair and beautiful look. The sentence carved on the back of her ring read, I know, you are as beautiful and innocent as a ruby, Zhang Tai. The last sapphire inlaid ring was for Alice. In Zhang Tai's eyes, the tears that Alice had dropped on the bed that day were sapphires. Therefore, he thought for quite a while before asked them to carve a sentence on the back of it that said, Wish you'll be happier than a sea, Zhang Tai. A man who could spend over 800 gold coins in a jewelry store was not a god as other people had done it before. However, a man who could buy jewelry for 85 beloved girls at once was definitely a god. Therefore, when Zhang Tai left, not only the boss, but also all the workers who were busy working stopped what they were doing and saw him off out the gate like seeing off a god. After leaving the jewelry store, Zhang Tai went to a women garment store. Chapter 200, Thank you, but I hate you. The moment Zhang Tai walked out through the gate of the jewelry store, he let out a deep breath without knowing the reason for it. Besides the sprayed liquid, this was the best item that he could give them, since he might soon go to the battlefield and could not be sure that he'll manage to survive there. If he was killed, this jewelry will work as the memory for those adorable girls. As their first man who indulged with them in pleasure for 1 week, he should leave something to them. Maybe he could not treat them all like how he treated Pandora and Beverly, but he could at least give them the best he could give. Those sets of jewelry that Zhang Tai had chosen were very heavy. There was also another reason for him to do this besides them serving as a memory of him. When in emergency, that jewelry could also be sold to save them. After leaving the jewelry store, Zhang Tai went to a women's underclothes store on Avenue Bright. The underclothes sold here were of the best brands in Black Hot City. Previously, he didn't know which brand was best, but now he had learnt from the girls of the Rose Association that the most favorite female underclothes brand in Black Hot City was Mrs. Dis. At the sight of such a handsome military officer of the Norman Empire, the beautiful female clerks inside the store all surrounded him out of curiosity. Give me a piece of paper and a pen, then prepare what I will write down. They had never imagined that such a handsome military officer of the Norman Empire might want a piece of paper and a pen. Under suspicion, one clerk presented him with what he asked for. When Zhang Tai left the store, he became a god again. All the clerks in the underwear store saw him off out the gate. Although men who could buy underclothes for women were not gods, a man who could buy 85 sets of underclothes at once and able to tell the size and style of each woman's underclothes was definitely a god. For the first time, Zhang Tai applied his improved memory after the upsurge of his spiritual energy in this place. The 85 sets of underclothes cost Zhang Tai over 30 gold coins in total. Some sizes and styles were in short, so he would have to come here to get them 3 days later. Although it was not a great consumption for Zhang Tai, he just wanted to tell those girls who had brought him great happiness that he had borne each one of them in his mind, including their looks and their figures, because they had given him the most important thing they had. After leaving the underclothes shop, Zhang Tai came to a boutique gift shop and a fresh flower shop. After spending 20 more gold coins there, he finally arranged everything so he could leave Black Hot City. From this evening onward, the great thing that a young military officer of the Norman Empire had done in the 3 stores on Avenue Bright became legends which were always mentioned by the clerks in the 3 stores to their customers even a few years later. After dealing with these things, Zhang Tai suddenly felt much more relaxed. Walking through the streets of Black Hot City alone, Zhang Tai thought about Samira. It was time to deal with that shameless villain. However, the grudge between Samira and him was private. Therefore, he could not find the evidence of Samira's fault on a greater event. Additionally, Samira had found a strong backer, alchemist Abayan. This made it more difficult for Zhang Tai to deal with him. Even if the ruler of Black Hot City changed, that alchemist called Abayan still enjoyed a far greater status than him, a trivial second lieutenant of the Norman Empire. If he wanted to deal with Samira, he should not involve that backer. Therefore, he needed to make a good plan. Without killing Samira, who had offended him and set him up several times, Zhang Tai didn't feel comfortable leaving Black Hot City. If he left that villain who was as vicious as a snake and as crafty as a fox alive in this world, it would be a risk for his family members and himself. Zhang Tai was determined to kill Samira before he left Black Hot City. It was his first decision to kill a person ever since he was born. He had spent too much time in the 3 stores. When he walked back to the apartment on Avenue Monet, it was already so late that few pedestrians were still on the road, leaving lamps radiating faint lights in pitch-dark night. There was already a vehicle and a person waiting outside the gate of Zhang Tai's apartment. It was a 60-odd man in black swallowtail suit, whose hair was fully gray. Although having stood outside the gate of Zhang Tai's apartment for a long time, he still behaved perfectly. "I'm Pavano, the butler of Gregory family. On behalf of the Gregory family, I'm very sorry for what happened in the Ironthorns Fighting Club today. That innocent kid will not appear there ever again. Here is the sincerity of Gregory family. Hopefully, you'll like it." The 60-odd man with pale hair flicked his hand towards his car. Then Mary, who was dressed well, got off the vehicle and came in front of Zhang Tai. She looked more beautiful but paler as well. At this time, she wore a beautiful and expensive evening dress adorned with crystals that could only be worn when women attended banquets. She seemed like a gift that had been well decorated. However, her look was of one going to the gibbets. The old man cast a warm eye at Mary, who immediately quivered all over. Please f***ck me. It was really hard to say such a filthy sentence, especially for a girl. After saying this sentence, Mary started crying. This was an appointment that had been made between Zhang Tai and Mary at the beginning. As for Gregory family, they had 1,000 methods to make common girls like Mary to succumb. Zhang Tai had long predicted that. Therefore, he was not surprised by it at all. Smiling, he told the butler of Gregory family, "I will not care about what happened in the Ironthorns Fighting Club today. It was just mischief of a kid. Wish you have a good night." After making an elegant bow to Zhang Tai, Pavano left. This was how big families behaved, Zhang Tai mumbled with a sigh inside. Facing Zhang Tai alone, not knowing whether it was because of cold or fear, Mary started to shiver all over. After casting a glance at her, Zhang Tai pulled out a key to open the gate of the apartment building. Mary then also lowered her head and followed him in. Zhang Tai's residence was filled with a strange smell. The moment Mary entered, she smelled a weird odor, and her face turned paler. That odor was like the smell of blood near the gibbet for her. Zhang Tai also smelled it. While staying in the residence for the past days, he did not sense it, but now, after going out for a round and coming back, he realized that the whole residence was filled with a lascivious smell. After entering the parlor, Mary became stiff all over. Hearing the sound of Zhang Tai closing the door, she got scared and quivered once again. Zhang Tai didn't care about her, neither did he talk to her. Instead, he just did things alone. After taking off his clothes in the bedroom, he went to the washroom to take a bath. It took him 10 minutes to finish it. Then he walked out of the washroom in a pair of boxer shorts and bare feet while wiping off the water droplets off his face. During this period, Mary, in her evening dress, just stood stiffly and nervously in the parlor with alluring shoulders. She slightly quivered. Zhang Tai took a small cup of fruit liqueur from the Gradevin in the parlor before walking over and giving it to her. "Drink it, you may warm up a bit." Mary seemed to listen to his words, for after taking the cup with 2 hands, she raised up her head and drank all the liquor, almost choking on it. She then started to cough. "Take a seat." Zhang Tai pointed at the sofa. Mary then sat down there stiffly while bean-sized tears dropped down her brittle-looking face. At the beginning, she had never imagined this situation. Even several hours before, when she was grabbed away from Zhang Tai by the young master of Gregory family, he was still slightly pleasant. However, Gregory family's changed attitude towards her made her wake up and understand how innocent she had been. In the eyes of those families of Blackhot City, women like her were nothing different from commodities displayed in the counters of stores on Avenue Bright. For Gregory family, she was even a cheap commodity that nobody would want even with a discount, an item produced by a small plant or a small workshop that was not even qualified to be displayed in official sites. What happened tonight awakened Mary from her nice dream and made her realize the cruelty of reality. Zhang Tai found that he really could not stand crying women. Seeing her poor look, his misunderstanding with her due to his personal feelings and vanity quickly dissipated. After having indulged with the girls of the Rose Association for 1 week, Zhang Tai found that he had grown a bit more mature, as he seemed to be more compromising to women. Many times he would think about the problem from point of view of the women. After fully releasing his desires that had been accumulated for many years on a group of girls, he found that many thorny edges inside of him seemed to have been polished by the endless piston movements. Women's tender figures and bodily fluids that he had exchanged with them seemed to also make his inner heart more comfortable. Several months ago, he was just a miserable ugly duckling. As for Mary, who usually looked at those beautiful swans and felt qualified to be one of them, at that time, Zhang Tai truly had nothing to make her respect him by lowering her status to satisfy his dream of sleeping with a beauty. In the rude mockery of Donder, the badass, "Did you have a big D***ck or what? I also made mistakes in the fighting club. I was a bit rude to you at that time, so I'll apologize to you about that. Through this incident, we're even. Dropping tears, Mary raised her head. She then looked at Zhang Tai with eyes wide open. When she thought that she would drop into hell, she heard his apology. Sitting on the opposite sofa, Zhang Tai just gazed at her without teasing. After taking off the military uniform, he looked just like an innocent youth or a lackey of a gangster. You mean, we're even? Mary asked out of suspicion. Yes, I don't know what the Gregory family told you and what trade has been made between you and them. It seemed that you only need to stay here for one night. If it was true, you just do that and leave the next morning. There are 2 guest rooms over there, you can choose one at your will. I've already told Manager Hans, so that they won't find you trouble in the future, so you're free as usual from tomorrow onward. Don't you want me? Mary was shocked, then changed her wording to express her thought. Scratching his head, Zhang Tai replied, isn't it interesting to do that on the base of our mutual willingness? I feel that the 2 of us are not on the same page, and I don't like to force others to do anything, neither do I like women feeling sorrow and weeping because of me. Do you want me to want you? Of course not. Mary instantly denied as her face slightly blushed. That's it, go to sleep then. I'm a bit tired these days, so I'll also go to bed now. I won't chat with you anymore. When you go back to your room, remember to turn off the light in the parlor. After saying this, Zhang Tai stood up and yawned, then returned to his own bedroom. He habitually locked the door from inside by pressing the button. Despite hearing the sound of Zhang Tai pressing the button in his bedroom, Mary sat in the parlor for quite a while. After that, she lowered her head down and looked at her infinitely beautiful figure and the extravagant evening dress. She should have let out a deep breath, however, she didn't know why but she felt dejected. After 8 days' fight, Zhang Tai finally could have a good sleep. Tonight, he felt that sometimes it was also very comfortable for a man to sleep alone. On the 2nd day, when Zhang Tai woke up, Mary had already left. He did not know when she'd done that, but he didn't care about it at all. Though on the mirror in the parlor, he saw a line left by that woman using her lipstick. Thank you. But I hate you. F***ck, is the woman sick? Zhang Tai swore inside. He could never understand why that woman would still hate him when he had been so kind to her. F***ck. After leaving this incident alone, Zhang Tai came into the study room and entered the underground hidden room. Over 10 minutes later, he walked out of that underground bar in Avenue Monet in a new set of clothes and a new face. After passing by a short half a block, he got on a trolley bus that went towards the southern downtown. Half an hour later, he appeared in the animal trading market in the south of Blackhot City. Standing on the hill, he looked at that beautiful and magnificent castle-like manor of Master Abayan, which was located beside the lake in the distance. Zhang Tai spent 2 silver coins to get news about Samira from a local snake of the market. In these couple of days, Samira had come to the animal trading market to purchase golden wangs at a very low price. It seemed that Master Abayan wanted to use these mutated golden wangs to make some medicament, actually end military control and enter the ruling system of the Norman Empire. As for guys like me who only know how to make money, if we could submit tax a bit more frequently so that we could reach a certain amount or directly bring a huge amount of donation to the empire in the future, we can reluctantly be promoted to the soldier class. Without being a soldier, according to the rules of the Norman Empire, I would be forbidden to even take a private car out in the future. Instead, I could only take a carriage. Besides, the color and the adornments of the carriage should not be golden, red, white, or black. The quantity of horses used to pull the carriage should not be more than 2. I could not use above LV2 mutated horses, other magical beasts, or other thoroughbred horses regulated by the Norman Empire that can only be used by meritorious clan and other classes above meritorious clan. There are also regulations on the size of the carriage. Oh, I almost forgot it, I would be forbidden to smoke cigars in the public. Instead, I could only smoke it at home or in the office. Manager Hans then sighed with a dejected expression. The good days of the new rich in Blackhot City will soon come to an end. Seeing Manager Hans's sorrowful face, at first Zhang Tai intended to express his sympathy about him. However, after thinking that there would be more guys who could only do small businesses, who, in Zaram's words, could only sit in small carriages with weird colors and run across Blackhot City, Zhang Tai couldn't take it and burst out laughing loudly. From another perspective, the hierarchical system of the Norman Empire was also lovely. Horseshit and horse fart don't smell good. Zhang Tai burst out laughing loudly as he mocked. Taking the cigar, Manager Hans became dumbfounded before burst out laughing too. You are free today? I'm here to look around and get the salary. By the way, the military uniform's largest benefit is to show off my power and prestige and satisfy my vanity. Zhang Tai replied honestly. Manager Hans laughed out louder, feeling that Zhang Tai was very interesting. He felt very relaxed and happy talking with him. Fine, you're our logo, many people are here for you. I will prepare money for you and pay you a year's salary. You go out to show off your power and prestige first, I'll give you your money when you leave. That's fine. Saying this, Zhang Tai stood up. Which do you want, gold notes or gold coins? Manager Hans asked. Gold coins? I like that heavy feeling of gold coins in hand. The same for me. Manager Hans smiled once again. Walking out of Manager Hans's office, Zhang Tai came directly to the VIP area and started to enjoy the VIP treatment in the fighting club. As he had said he was leaving for greetings, Benet was still waiting for him here. Fetch me those female assistants here, I want to choose one. After entering the VIP area, Zhang Tai directly ordered the service manager of this area. Receiving his order, the service manager left. Seemingly knowing what Zhang Tai wanted to do, Benet opened his mouth and wanted to say something, however, he didn't utter it. Mary was just a common female assistant in the fighting club. After Zhang Tai left, Benet in the end didn't convince Mary to become his woman. Additionally, after knowing what happened between him and Zhang Tai, his mom had already strictly warned him to not get along with Mary anymore. In Benet's mom's words, foolish and self-important women like Mary could only bring disasters to men beside them. After a while, dozens of young beauties arrived at the VIP area. They started to tempt Zhang Tai with their eyes. Mary was also among them. Zhang Tai immediately caught sight of her. Meanwhile, she also caught sight of him. Although there were many legends about Zhang Tai, the moment she saw him, Mary's face turned pale and her whole body quivered. Pointing at Mary, Zhang Tai didn't speak, but revealed a smile. Everybody realized that he was gazing at Mary, so the surrounding female assistants also cast their eyes onto her too. Under the complex, jealous, or gloating eyes, Mary walked out of the crowd, quivering all over. That's her, I want Mary. An abrupt voice drifted from the side with a rich, aggressive atmosphere. Zhang Tai turned back and saw a familiar brat who was walking here accompanied by 2 bodyguards. The moment he walked over, he raised his eyebrows towards Zhang Tai in a defiant manner. However, at the sight of Zhang Tai's military uniform, one of the 2 bodyguards hurriedly changed his face and lowered his head to whisper to the brat. Unexpectedly, he was ferociously glared at by the brat. Shut up. After watching the defiant brat for a while, Zhang Tai finally recognized who he was, the brat who had kicked him so abruptly and ferociously that he had passed out the first time he came to the fighting club. His name might have been Gregory.